Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is a live weather discussion here at 6:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for August 28th, 2021. Of course, my name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy and Nate. And we have a lot of activity here to discuss, especially as potential major hurricane Ida will be making landfall within the next 24 hours, most likely 24 hours from now. But this thing has varied in track and intensity over this short period of time of me making my video this morning and the live stream right now. So a lot of information to get out for you all. If you guys would love to help support, get this video out to as many people as possible, that'd be greatly appreciated. By liking the live stream, that allows me to get this live stream out to more and more people's recommended feeds. That's how YouTube's algorithm works. So that would be greatly appreciated if you guys would like the live stream. And then by sharing this live stream with friends and family and on social media, that would also be greatly appreciated. As I said, it's all about spreading the information here as this continues to get closer and closer. Some very big time activity that is coming from Ida. So that would be greatly appreciated if you guys would help me there. Taking a look at the wide view here, as we always do at the beginning of every single video or stream for the tropics, we can see quite a few things. First things first, here's Ida. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious as to what Ida looks like over there. It looks like a classic tropical system. We also have Invest 97L, which is starting to kind of wither away a bit. And then we have Tropical Depression 10 that is somewhere just to the east of the Lesser Antilles. Of course, those two things are not going to be the main topic of focus here this evening, but just something to point out there for the most part, that there is also that. And then also on the Pacific coast, we also have Hurricane Nora that's kind of threatening the western coast of Mexico. That could be potentially moving towards Baja California as well, and maybe even upwards into Arizona and New Mexico, causing some monsoon conditions over there as well. So there is a lot of activity that is already unfolding here at the peak of hurricane season, or at least it's not exactly at the peak of hurricane season, but we're getting there. The peak is actually at September 10th, for any of you who are curious. So there is a lot of activity that's starting to build up here, and we're going to be covering it here as much as possible. So as I said, we're going to be trying to do as much for you guys as we possibly can. Just some information for you all for the future before we get into the specifics. I will be live streaming tomorrow, most likely for the most part all day. I'm going to try and time it so that a little bit prior to 12 hours before it makes landfall, well, actually a little bit after 12 hours before it makes landfall, I will be live streaming. And we'll be live streaming with all sorts of different content. As you guys can see at the scroll bar down at the bottom, it tells you all the stuff that we have here for you all. But we will have our storm chaser, our very own storm chaser, giving us the conditions as to what all is happening over there. And he'll be showing us the footage. I don't exactly know where he's going to be at yet, but we're talking about how he's probably going to be heading off towards Thibodeau, which is a bit further inland away from some of the storm surge. Of course, he'll still get some flooding in some of that area, but he'll at least be able to escape much of the major storm surge and potentially even get into portions of the eye wall and even the eye as well. So we'll have our very own storm chaser for you all tomorrow, as well as probes that will be in the eye of major hurricane Ida by the time it becomes a major hurricane. So we will have, as I said, all sorts of information here for you all. We will have all sorts of different footage, views of this thing. It is definitely going to be a jam-packed show for you all tomorrow, which you will not be able to get anywhere else on YouTube. I guarantee you, no one else on YouTube has a storm chaser like us. So you're going to want to stick around here on the channel for the best information that you can find here on YouTube. All right, let's take a look at the visible satellite imagery here. And you can see how this thing has really been starting to try and develop an eye. You can see how it's starting to poke out a little bit there in the middle of all this swirling convection mass. And there's a lot of showers and thunderstorms that are really starting to develop on the northwestern quadrant now, which can be indicative of some very strong hot towers, as we like to call them. Very strong amounts of convection, very strong wind shear. Well, actually not wind shear, but winds inside the storm that's really starting to materialize. So this is definitely something that we're going to have to watch out for as this continues to move up closer and closer to Louisiana. You can see right there is Louisiana, right there is the Big Bend of Florida as well. So this is relatively close towards the coast already as it has raced off further and further towards the north and west. You can see how it's almost in between Cuba and Louisiana at this point, right in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. So it's got a short period of time for it to continue to intensify. And if we go over here to, we'll go to the National Hurricane Center's latest advisory, you can see how the maximum sustained winds as of the 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time advisory was 105 miles per hour with a minimum pressure of 976 millibars. So right now it is a Category 2 hurricane, and it is 10 miles per hour away from being a major hurricane. So we're really close enough to calling this as a major hurricane in itself, and we most likely will see that upgrade here probably within the next 6 to 8 hours. So a lot of activity that is anticipated with this here shortly. We also have the hurricane hunters that are currently in the storm at the moment, one of which is actually starting to make a pass right through the center. They found winds of about 90 to 100 miles per hour earlier, and so they're getting a lot of activity here for the most part. That's really starting to kind of pick up, if you will. And that seems to be practically the gist of it for the most part, that they have really just one reconnaissance mission in it, and that they're going to have another one here most likely within the next hour to an hour and a half. Taking a look over here, speaking of which, at the reconnaissance missions, I'm going to try and pull up the satellite imagery for you all so it looks a little bit more appealing. And we're going to pull up the SSEC imagery. We're going to go to Goes East, we're going to go to Mesoscale 1, and of course we're going to go to the Clean Long Wave Black and White Infrared Satellite Imagery. So you can see right here, this is what the NOAA Hurricane Hunters are currently doing. They're going right through the center. You can clearly see the eye right here on the satellite imagery. So they're about to go right through it again. They're kind of tracking up through it. The eye is not really going to wobble to the left or to the right all too much in this instance. So they're going to be able to get a good pass right in through the center of the storm. And so far, they found some really strong winds. You can see a lot of these orange wind barbs here on the northeastern quadrant of the system. And this shows you that earlier when they flew through that area of the storm, we had some around or above hurricane force winds right within that area. So this is definitely indicative of some very strong winds. They had a drop zone here that is not exactly in the eye wall, but kind of in between the eye wall and the outer edge of it. And just for reference as to how fast those winds were at the surface, it was 66 miles per hour, and it's not even near the eye wall. So that is some very significant winds that are starting to really wrap up around this. And then if we take a look over here at the eye wall, they found winds at around 91 miles per hour, with winds a little bit above that at about a little bit above the sea level, probably about, I'd say 2,000 feet actually, 2,000 feet above sea level. They found 102 mile per hour winds. So right now, it's definitely starting to congeal a bit more and more as this continues to progress further towards the north and west. It's starting to move into a lot more favorable waters for it to rapidly intensify. And so we're definitely going to have to watch out for this as this continues to progress. But one thing I can most likely say for certain is that this most likely will not rapidly intensify high enough to probably be a Category 5 unless if we see some very deep convection that starts to unfold here relatively soon. And unfortunately, I just don't exactly, well, actually, not really unfortunately, but fortunately, I don't exactly buy it. So that's the good news for us there. Now, I told you all who have been on the channel that we will have our 3D satellite imagery, and if we have an eye on it, it's gonna look freaking cool. And here we go, it looks freaking cool. Look at this. Look at this satellite imagery here. Look at how it progressed from Cuba. It rapidly intensified down there, and then look at how it formed an eye. It already started, it had a little bit of an issue, went through an eye wall replacement cycle, so it weakened temporarily, and then it strengthened significantly, and boom. Look at that. That is absolutely phenomenal to look at, especially the progression of this system. We'll go to 30 frame. We'll go to 50 frames, actually. We'll go to 50 frames and see how this progresses in itself. But yeah, this is a very, very surreal look at this 3D satellite imagery and how it continues to progress. And, you know, there's a lot more where that came from as this continues to move along, especially into much more favorable waters. But yeah, this is definitely a system that looks like a hurricane. I mean, you have some systems that end up becoming a hurricane and you don't exactly see it too much, but it is definitely it definitely has that hurricane vibe to it. I will go onto Twitter here real quickly. So we're gonna tweet. We're gonna say, I am live giving the latest information on potential major hurricane Ida on YouTube. Join the live stream for the latest information. Hashtag Ida, because yes. And then hashtag Hurricane Ida. There we go. Hit the link. Boom. Send it out. And this is just my way of trying to get this out to as many people as possible, because we're going to want to get this live stream out to as many people as possible to try and spread the word. That's the big thing there. If we can try and spread the word, then we could potentially help save some lives. But yeah, we've got all sorts of stuff here that we will be going over as this continues to progress. So let's see if the hurricane hunters have actually went through the center, and they have. They've went through the center. So let's take a look at this. And you can see clearly right there's the center because they went right through the eye. They found winds of 85 miles per hour at the surface. Yeah, about 85 at the southeastern side of the storm. So that's about the highest that we've seen here so far for that portion of the storm. And then, of course, going through the eye, they have found an extrapolated pressure of 968.7 millibars. So it could be a little bit higher, be a little bit lower. I'm guessing that it probably would be a little bit lower in this instance, but very, very interesting to see how this continues to progress on further and further. And this is a very well-pronounced tropical system that is starting to kind of congeal at this point. So someone had a very good question here. Someone had a very good question as to why the center of the hurricane is just to the right of the forecast. And that is a very good question. That's because it's kind of shifted a little bit further to the east. So it's had a little bit more of this shift to where it could most likely impact areas like Grand Isle and like Huma. And so most likely that would mean that areas into New Orleans will probably get more storm surge into their area than they actually originally anticipated. So definitely something that I'm really concerned for as this continues to progress, as this continues to propagate further northward, because this is if that's the case, that is a very concerning look. And I actually want to see here. If we go to the National Hurricane Center and take a look at their peak storm surge, they haven't changed anything. So it's about the same as to what the storm surge was before. But let's take a look at the storm surge inundation map here. And this will give us an idea as to how far the storm surge extends inland. Now, I turned off the intertidal layer so that even stuff that's like, wildlife, like just straight up trees and stuff like that, it'll give you an idea as to how far the water actually extends inland. I feel like this gives a better perspective as to how significant this will be. So you can see here a lot of these reds. these reds indicate greater than 9 feet above ground level storm surge. Greater than 9 feet above ground level storm surge. And this is an expansive area right here. It even goes to the north of Pontchartrain. I mean, look at this, guys. This is a very expansive area that will most likely see some significant storm surge. And it's right around New Orleans, too. The thing about it is, though, with New Orleans, is that this will really have to depend upon where it makes landfall. If it makes landfall right about here, most of the storm surge could possibly head into Pontchartrain again, and then we could be seeing stuff similar to, I hate to say it, Katrina. But if this thing makes landfall over here, probably south of Houma and Morgan City, that general vicinity, then we won't be experiencing stuff like that. The levees will have to deal with the activity over here on the southern side. And so it's just a battle between where this thing goes. If it goes any further east, like near the Mississippi River Delta or Grand Isle, we're going to have some big issues. We're going to have some very big issues. But if it goes west, if it stays on its western trajectory, then the main issue will most likely be areas on the southern side of New Orleans. Will those levees continue to keep up? In which there's been some instances where the levees haven't. But that also takes into account we also got to take into account where this thing, as I said, makes landfall. Those other storms that made landfall near New Orleans was somewhere over here near Grand Isle and the Mississippi River Delta, which is the reason why I'm saying, as much as it is, as concerning as it is, we really have to watch out for an eastern track. All right? Because what happened with Katrina is it did not make landfall originally in Louisiana, or if it did, it was somewhere over in this general vicinity. But what it did was it tracked somewhere similar up like this, and because it went like that, if you can imagine the counterclockwise winds around Katrina, it pushed a lot of the storm surge into Lake Pontchartrain. And then after it made landfall over here near Mississippi, those winds then were shifting southward. So it approached from Pontchartrain and down into New Orleans. What's happening now with Ida is that it's expected to make landfall over here south of Thibodaux and just near Morgan City, just somewhere over in that general vicinity. And it's expected to just bring storm surge like this. All right? So if it's any further east, it's a big issue. It's a massive issue. And we will most likely see some catastrophic flooding. We're already going to see some catastrophic flooding already. All right, don't get me wrong. This thing is going to be a very significant storm. But it really depends upon where this thing ends up making landfall as to what the impacts could potentially be. That's the big thing there. Let's take a look at the infrared satellite imagery here, the flat-based version and not the 3D version here, just to get an idea as to what exactly is happening. And it seems as if this storm is now starting to wrap around more and more strong showers and thunderstorms around its eye. And whenever you see the eye that's very small like this, that's when you know that it is a strong and intensifying storm. So if it continues to do this, this is most likely going to start rapidly intensifying again. And what I want to do here real quickly for you all is I'm going to pull up an interesting image here for you guys to take in and digest. Here's the upper ocean heat content, which basically shows you how deep the waters are and how much it spans with its very warm, moist, unstable sea surface temperatures. So we already know that the sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico are around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. We already know that. That's very favorable for rapid intensification. But what ends up helping rapid intensification even more is if those waters span further and further into the depths of the ocean, or even in this case, the Gulf of Mexico. And so we can actually see that right under where Ida actually is tracking, it's going right over the worst or the most unstable portion of the Gulf of Mexico. And that is very bad. That is very bad. So that's the reason why the National Hurricane Center is anticipating this to rapidly intensify on its approach to Louisiana. So it's all the more reason why, if you live over there, you still have a little bit of time. All right, you still have a little bit of time to evacuate. But the big thing here, and I want people to take this into perspective, all right? When they issue that curfew and no one can get in or out, I want people to realize that if there is a serious situation and you have to call 911, they will not come if you live in the evacuated areas. They will not come for you. They have evacuated as well. So you better know what you're doing. But it's rather safe than sorry at this point, because anything can go wrong in this instance. Will the Panhandle feel any impacts? Please, someone answer. You could potentially see some impacts here, potentially. If we go over here to the map of the storm surge, all right, so here's the Panhandle of Florida. Storm surge is not exactly anticipated to be super significant. You can see some of the blue areas indicating 1 foot above ground level storm surge in some of your areas. So storm surge may not be that big of an issue for you. But if we take a look at the rainfall map here, if you live near Pensacola, you can expect to see 6 to 10 inches of rainfall within your general vicinity. So I would watch out for that as that continues to move on through as well. I would definitely watch out for this as this continues to move on through. But if you're a bit further east, like say near Tallahassee or near Elgin Air Force Base, you guys should be fine from the system. Will it be worse than Katrina? It depends upon where you're talking about in landfalls. So, areas near the eye, of course, it probably would be worse than Katrina. But areas, say in New Orleans, it would have to depend upon where it makes landfall. If it's a bit further east, then it could be Katrina level. But right now, we don't know where it's going to make landfall because it's varied too many times in track. I want to keep this rainfall amount up here for you all, because I also want to point out how the 15 to 20 inch amounts of total rainfall, total accumulated rainfall has expanded. And that includes the western suburbs of New Orleans. So on top of the storm surge that you're going to get, that's going to be mostly 9 feet above ground level storm surge, some even higher. 11 to 15 feet of storm surge is anticipated on the southeastern shore of Louisiana. On top of that storm surge, you are also going to get 10 to potentially 20 inches of total accumulated rainfall. That is significant. And all the more reason why you should evacuate now. All the more reason why you should evacuate now. Let's go back to the hurricane hunters and see what they found here. They have a drop zone that they just put in the middle of this system here. And they found a pressure with their drop zone here of 971 millibars. So that is 3 millibars lower than what they found on their first pass into the system, meaning that this system has intensified further. They've also put in another drop zone here on the northwestern quadrant of the system, northwestern quadrant of the storm, and they found winds at the surface of 86 miles per hour. 86 miles per hour. So that is still Category 1 strength, but we can assume that areas probably here in the northeastern quadrant have Category 2 strength of about 100 to 105 mile per hour winds. Now, typically what will happen is as the pressure continues to dip more and more, then the winds, the stronger and stronger the winds will begin to increase, and the winds will basically follow after that. So first it's the pressure, and then shortly after the winds begin to ramp up quickly. And that's the big thing there that we have to talk about. as this continues to move about further and further. Let's go back over to the aircraft reconnaissance thing over here on Tropical Tidbits just to see how high these winds were in some spots. And they did find winds here in some spots on the northwestern side of about 90 miles per hour. So that's high-end Category 1 strength right there. And let's see if we can actually find the specific amount that they found up there. So let's see. 74, 76, 76, 80 miles per hour, 80, 84, 90, which is 89.9, 90.9, 93.2. So that is very close, if not at Category 2 hurricane strength as of right now, which verifies the National Hurricane Center. But as I mentioned, it's probably going to be stronger over here the northeastern side of the storm, meaning that this will most likely be a 105 mile per hour Category 2 hurricane as of this moment. Let us see. I'm going to turn on IEM bot here, just in case if they issue any emergency outlooks, but I do not see an official emergency outlook here as this continues to move about. But yeah, this is a pretty significant situation that's currently ongoing, and we also have another reconnaissance plane that's heading into the system here relatively soon. We also have some oil rigs that have some live data that will be streaming into us as time continues to move along later on this evening. We will most likely be live streaming past the 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time advisory, so if you guys want to stick around all the way through, feel free to do so. And we will continue to update you guys as much as possible through this ongoing situation. We will be live streaming tomorrow, guys. All right, we will be live streaming tomorrow. We will have our own storm chaser that is in the storm. We will be able to talk to him. All right, that is something that no other YouTuber will have on YouTube. So I guarantee you, if you come back tomorrow, you will have something completely different than other YouTubers. We'll also have some webcams that will most likely be in the eye of the hurricane. So if you want to stick around for that as well, in case our YouTuber, not our YouTuber, our storm chaser decides to chase the eye wall, which definitely is a possibility is there. We will be able to see the eye most likely as it continues to propagate further. So please stay tuned to the channel. As I said, subscribe if you're new and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all the latest information. Even after Ida happens, we're not even at the peak of hurricane season yet. So I will continue to update you guys more and more and more about future hurricanes. We've been talking about this tropical system. We were one of the first YouTubers here on the platform to start talking about how there could potentially be a major hurricane heading off into Louisiana. So if you guys want to stick around for content similar to that, please be sure to do so. I would be that'd be greatly appreciated. And also, if you want this information to get out to more and more people, please be sure to like the live stream. By liking the live stream, you guys are actually helping me get this out to more and more people on YouTube's platform. It basically recommends it for you so that we can get the information out as much as possible. As I said, it's basically trying to get as much information out as possible to potentially save lives. So that would be greatly appreciated. Looking at the, let's actually take a look at the satellite imagery here from Radar Omega. So we can see both on 2D and then on 3D later as I show you here. You can see, obviously, it has a clear, well-defined eye. It's got some hot towers, which is some high, deep convection, more or less, some very strong thunderstorm activity that is really starting to activate over on the western side of the storm. That will most likely begin to wrap around completely around the eye. And this is the one thing that's really concerning here for its rapid intensification process. Over here, right in the eye, right about there, notice how small it actually is. And actually, if I measure how wide it is across, it is about 12 miles wide. That is a very skinny eye. All right, eyes of where storms weaken, they actually end up being a little bit larger than that, probably about 20 to 25 miles wide. So having a 12-mile wide eye like that is very concerning, because that tells me that this thing is consolidating a lot of that energy into a small area, a small and confined area, and it is basically ramping up the system more and more as it continues to progress. So that's the big thing there as this continues to move about. But yeah, if you've been in any of the areas where they have issued mandatory evacuations, you probably should. You probably should. The good news is that the storm is going to continue to move relatively quickly off through on its approach to Louisiana. So that is the good news. That is the very good news here in this instance. But the bad news is that it's still forecasted to become a Category 4 hurricane upon landfall. Let us take a look. I want to see if they have released the Doppler radar for the tail of this tropical hurricane hunter, I should say. I want to see if they've issued any tail Doppler radars, and I don't see any on this website here, which is unfortunate. Let's actually, here, Ida. And yeah, they haven't done anything for this website right here. Give me a few. I'm going to try and see if I can find it here. So Elsa, Fred, Grace, Henri. Okay, so here's Tropical Depression 9. This is Thursday. This is Saturday. And we don't have any of the data here for you all, unfortunately. So they haven't released the tail Doppler radar at all from the system. And what that basically is, for any of you who are curious, is I'll bring up a picture of the hurricane hunters. I'll bring up a picture here. And you guys can see here, here's the hurricane hunter's plane. And you see this little area here at the back right, the back of the plane. The back of the plane near the tail fin. That actually has a Doppler radar right in there. This has a Doppler radar right at the rear of the Hurricane Hunter aircraft. And so they can actually show you, they can actually download the radar to the National Hurricane Center, and they can upload it publicly for people to see. But as of recently, they haven't been doing so. So that's kind of unfortunate for us, because of course that's more information for us to get out to more and more people. But as I said, this is a big thing here. If they can release that data to us, we'll be able to get more and more information for you all. Regardless of that, though, just by looking at the satellite imagery, though, that eye is starting to shrink more and more into a very small consolidated eye. And that shows you that this will most likely begin to rapidly intensify more and more over time. So this is a very concerning situation that is continuing to unfold here for the most part. Now, I showed you all here the 2D satellite imagery from Radar Omega, but I'm going to show you the 3D satellite imagery now. And the 3D satellite imagery, in my honest opinion, is pretty cool. All right? You know, for as terrifying of a storm as this is a very surreal image, and it gives you a very good idea as to how tall these thunderstorms actually are and how strong they actually are. So if you guys see a lot of these dark reds into blacks and even whites in some instances, that shows you some very strong thunderstorm activity that is ongoing in that particular spot of the storm. And it looks like, you know, you can see earlier that right when it formed its first eye, it started to lose a bit of that northern structure to it. The northern part of the eye wall gave out, and so it had to go through an eye wall replacement cycle for the short time being that it had to. And then you can see that now it's starting to consolidate a little bit more and more. You can see a lot of that strong thunderstorm activity that is ongoing on the southwestern side of the storm, the southwestern quadrant. And then as it continues to progress further northward, you can see how the eye wall actually has become a little bit more well-defined. You can see how it has a better overall structure. I'll pause it right here and show you all this. You can see how these reds and even some of these blacks have become a little bit more consolidated well around the actual eye of the system, if you get where I'm coming from. It's a lot more activity right within it that's really starting to kind of pack a punch. And this shows you that this thing is really trying to get its act together over these very unstable waters to rapidly intensify. And we'll go back to the image here that shows you the amount of energy that is in the this particular spot of the Gulf of Mexico, and as to why it is intensifying as much as it is. So you can see right here, this is the image of the upper ocean heat content, which tells you how much unstable energy is in the Gulf of Mexico, or even just the ocean in general. All right, even in the ocean in general. And you can see that here, just to the south and east of Louisiana, in this general vicinity right here, that is where there are some very significant amounts of unstable energy for this tropical system to continue to progress. And if we go over here to the forecast cone for Ida, all right, pay attention to the latitude and longitude lines here, if you guys would. Notice right here that there's this box right here. So it's about 30 north and 25 north, and then 90 west and 85 west. We're going to go back to that image again. So 90 west, 85 west, 30 north, 25 north. Ida is about somewhere over here, and it's about to start to go into those very unstable waters. So things are about to uptrend significantly. It's not even in the worst area of the warm waters yet. It's not even in the worst area of the instability for this thing to rapidly intensify yet. So that's the big thing here. This is the big concern as it gets closer and closer to Louisiana, that this thing will continue to intensify further and further. For any of you who are curious as to what the current intensity is, according to the National Hurricane Center, this thing is a 105 mile per hour Category 2 hurricane with a minimum pressure of 976 millibars. It is moving northwest at 16 miles per hour, so it's moving a little fast. And is expected to keep around that speed, maybe a little bit slower on its approach to Louisiana, but it's not expected to stall by the time it gets to Louisiana at all. So for people who are asking questions as to whether or not this is going to stop completely like Dorian or stop completely like Harvey, there in some other situations that would definitely be the case. But as of right now, that is not the case, just based off of the environment around it. And I'm going to show you guys what I mean by this by taking a look at the weather models here. We're going to take a look at the GFS. The GFS has been pretty good for the most part with talking about the environment, as well as the track of the system. The track of the system actually from the GFS has been very good. As a matter of fact, the GFS has been, so far, the most consistent models with where it's been making landfall. Not exactly with intensity, because most of the hurricane models cannot actually accurately predict intensity. But in this case, we're going to be taking a look at the vorticity here. Vorticity, typically tropical systems have a lot of vorticity. You know, you spin a lot, and, well, tropical systems typically spin a lot. So the more oranges and the more reds within a specific area, that shows you that there's more vorticity. But that's not the only reason why we look at this general area here. We also take a look at the 500 millibar winds here, because this tells us what the directional shear is as to where it's basically going to guide the system closer and closer when it makes landfall. So when we take a look at the wind barbs here, we can see that we have this general rotation here in a clockwise fashion. Well, wait a minute. Tropical systems spin in a counterclockwise fashion, so how could this be? Well, that's because we actually have an upper level ridge right here, a high pressure system that is creating some wind shear on the southern side to basically guide this system into Louisiana. That's the reason why areas over here, say in Pensacola and in the peninsula of Florida, That's the reason why they're not going to get hit by the storm, is because you have that high pressure up in South Carolina and Georgia that is basically pushing the system as far off to the west as it has. Now, whether or not that high pressure system could move it further west, that's a big question to be answered here too. But as of right now, most of the models seem to take it right near Grand Isle, Louisiana, which for any of you who are curious is right about here in the track. So you see this general area right about here that is outlined in all these different colors. That is right around where most of the models foresee this making landfall, maybe even somewhere a bit further towards the west as well, somewhere within this general vicinity. But that's where they are anticipating this to most likely make landfall. And that's the reason why areas in Pensacola is not going to get hit by the eye of the hurricane. So just for any of you who are curious, that is how the thing is progressing forward. Now, the thing of it is with this as well is that the high pressure system, according to this model run, is not expected to move any further south or any further west. So it's pretty much set in stone that this will most likely make landfall somewhere here in Louisiana. And it probably won't go any further to the west. It could possibly head off into Mississippi as a landfall, which that would be the same instance as Katrina. If you guys remember what happened with Katrina, and we'll go back over here to, let's see if I can find the image here. So give me a second. We're going to go over to the storm surge inundation map, which gives us an idea as to how much storm surge there will be in this area. So before I actually talk about Katrina, let's talk about what these colors mean, because you guys might be looking at me and figuring out, Nate, what are you doing? What are you doing? There's so many different colors around here. You're probably just, making this up. And, well, I wish I was. But this is, the thing about it is with this is that this is actually a map of the storm surge from the National Hurricane Center, okay? So just keep that in mind. Areas in the blue, you can expect storm surge greater than 1 foot above ground level. Areas in the yellow, you can expect storm surge greater than 3 feet above ground level. Areas in the orange, you can expect storm surge greater than 6 feet above ground level. And then areas in the red, which there are a lot of them, you can expect greater than 9 feet above ground level. That is higher than a 1-story home. Which is the reason why this is anticipated to be as catastrophic as it is. And you can already see how many reds there are within this area, even on the northern side of Lake Pontchartrain. Over here, near Slidell, near Baton Rouge. Not exactly all the way into Baton Rouge, but you get what I'm saying when I mean that storm surge most likely will be significant, all right? So let's go back to the topic of Katrina again. Most people are interested about that. What happened with Katrina was it actually trended in this pathway. Let's actually change the color of my pen. It actually trended east of New Orleans. So if you can imagine a counterclockwise spin of a tropical system, when the eye was somewhere about right here, it pushed a lot of that storm surge into Lake Pontchartrain. All right, it pushed that storm surge into Lake Pontchartrain. Then when the eye was about over into Gulfport and Slidell, it pushed all that storm surge that was consolidated into Pontchartrain into New Orleans, creating as bad of an event as it was. Okay? So that's the reason why Katrina was as significant as it was, because those levees on the northern side are not built for stuff like that. They were built for stuff along the Mississippi River. That's where most of the more well-built levees were actually at. But in this instance, with Ida, it's expected to make landfall somewhere around here, okay? So we're still expected to get storm surge in areas near New Orleans. The winds are going to still be pushed off into this general direction. But then by the time the system continues to move further and further north, it's not going to go over ponds. It's not going to go over like Gulfport and stuff like that. So if you can imagine the eye somewhere right here, okay, winds are going to be coming up like this. They're going to be coming up like this, and they're going to be coming up like this. It's not going to go back into New Orleans. So the only real threat here for New Orleans, for the most part, from the levees, will have to be from either the eastern side, the southern side, or potentially the western side with the amount of rainfall. From Pontchartrain, they've developed their levees a little bit better over time, so that is the good news. But it is still going to bring some significant flooding across the board. All right. Doing it live with the $10 super chat. Thank you, my friend, for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. Hey, Nate, I just got here. Have you checked on the storm in southwestern Minnesota? It's got some mean rotation. I'll have to check on that in a bit. I'm going to get my GR2 analyst up for that just to peek on some peek on those storms every now and then. If you guys are new to the channel, by the way, all right, I will be live streaming tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow we will have our own personal storm chaser on the ground getting hit by this tropical system. All right, he's going to be a little bit further inland, so he's not going to be impacted as much by the storm surge, but he's going to be most likely either near or right next to the eye right after it makes landfall. All right? So if you guys want to see content like that, if you guys want to see probes to where you can see inside the eye here from Radar Omega, guys got to be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Big thing there is to hit that notification bell because you do not want to miss any sort of information that we're putting out. We've got 3D satellite imagery. We got 3D radar imagery. We've got hurricane hunters. We've got our storm chaser, our very own storm chaser that we can talk to. We've got probes that can see inside the storm. We've got all sorts of coverage here for you that will be at your disposal tomorrow. So if you come back tomorrow, I guarantee you, you will not miss a single thing. And I guarantee you as well, on YouTube, if you look around, no one else has a storm chaser like us unless if it's a news agency, a professional network. So it's all the more reason why you should tune in tomorrow. All the more reason why you should tune in tomorrow. Let's go take a look at the hurricane hunters. I'm going to refresh the page here and see what exactly they're doing here. So we're going to go back to Google Earth. We're going to refresh the page, as I said. And it looks like they're going to start to try and make their track into the center again. So here's the eye. Here's the eye. Here's the track of the hurricane hunters as they're going to continue to progress. And the only reason why they have these little circles with numbers in it is because, of course, the hurricane is going to continue to move off further and further towards the north and west. So they're going to try and, you know, meet up with the storm as it continues to progress that way. So that's the reason why, you know, these little lines aren't going through the eye all at the same time. Because it's got to continue, you know, Ida is not stationary. It's going to continue to move. But if you take a look here, it seems as if they're going to continue to make another pass. They're probably going to go somewhere over here and then go approach from the west to the east, kind of cutting across the actual circulation like that. It's going to be a little bit difficult trying to time it, although this thing isn't moving exactly all too fast. The eye is about... if I remember measuring it correctly on Radar Omega, it was about 12 miles wide, and this thing is moving at 16 miles per hour. So they might be able to get through the eye if they are able to use their radar, and I think they probably will. So that shouldn't be that big of an issue progressing forward. But yeah, the hurricane hunters are definitely starting to... go through the system, and they're getting a lot of data here too. You can see a lot of these orange wind barbs here. This indicates around or above hurricane force winds. So consistently, they have found a lot of that. They have found a lot of it. They also put another drop sonde just further away from the eye wall. All right, we'll talk about the eye wall here in a second because there might be some people who are new to the channel, new to the live stream, and they didn't catch as to what they found over at the eye. But for the people who have stayed here on the live stream for as long as they have, they put another drop sonde a little bit further away from the eye wall, and they found 43-mile-per-hour winds. So it shows you that the eye wall here, or at least the bands of this system, are very skinny on the northwestern side of the storm. So we're expecting that to change here within the next 3 to 6 hours. Of course, we're going to continue to live stream most likely until 10 Eastern Daylight Time. We're going to try and live stream as much as we can this evening to try and get as much information out as possible. As I said, big thing here is just we're trying to get as much information out as possible. But we're going to continue to try and keep you all up to date with the current intensity of the system, as well as what the impacts are most likely going to be. And then we're going to talk also about what could happen afterwards as well. So, as most of you may know, if you've been on my channel for a while, this isn't even the peak of hurricane season yet. We're at August 28th. And the peak of hurricane season is September 10th. That's when it's supposed to be at its worst. And then it's supposed to progressively, keyword progressively, go downhill from there. It's supposed to, lessen in activity. But as of right now, this is when we start to have the sharp uptick of activity here in hurricane season. And this is a good example of it. This is the beginning. This is the real start. And the thing of it is, too, is that this is the first tropical system that will most likely make landfall as a hurricane. We had a couple other hurricanes prior, but they ended up not making landfall as such. We had Hurricane Elsa, which made landfall as about a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm, if not 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm. And we had Hurricane Henri, which was about a week and a half ago that hit New England, and that made landfall as a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. So with the National Hurricane Center forecasting this to be a Category 4 hurricane upon landfall, that is a rude awakening to the peak of hurricane season. Now, I want to mention here real quickly. I want to mention here real quickly to anyone who is who might ask about whether or not this could turn into a Category 5. First things first, I want to make a disclaimer. When we're talking about a tropical system this strong to potentially make landfall as a Category 4 hurricane, the difference in damage will not be that different. It'll be very similar. Category 4 and Category 5 hurricanes, Category 4 hurricanes, I should say, are very easily misunderstood because they're easily overshadowed by a Category 5 hurricane, because everyone thinks, oh, Category 5 is the worst of the worst, but they don't really think about those Category 4 hurricanes that happen all too much. They happen a dime a dozen. It is what it is. It's not like a Category 5 hurricane. I'm here to tell you, there isn't that big of a difference. The damage is about the same. The only thing with a Category 5 hurricane is that it's just a little bit more widespread. And of course, the closer you get to the eye, into the eye wall, damage is going to be, a little bit more catastrophic as if it wasn't catastrophic already. So, for people who are trying to figure out as to whether or not this is going to be a Category 5 hurricane, I just want to let you know, it won't really matter all too much at this point, because it's going to be that bad. Now, in regards to whether or not it will be a Category 5 hurricane, I personally kind of doubt it as of right now, due to the fact that it doesn't really have a whole lot of time over water. It's expected to rapidly intensify more, don't get me wrong. But I don't think there's enough time over this warm, unstable water to rapidly intensify further. I was talking about hurricane landfall on the United States coast in this instance. So I guess I should have been a little bit more clearer in those regards. Mods, I think, well, I'm gonna say for now, let them do prayers, because I'm a little bit religious myself. So if they say I'm praying for these people over there, definitely could allow them to do so. But if they start putting their agenda out against other people, I'd start to moderate that specifically. But yeah, I would, I mean, I'm gonna be praying for them too. This is definitely the worst case scenario. So let's, as I said, we're going to play the 3D imagery here, 3D satellite imagery. I mean, this just looks absolutely phenomenal for people who haven't seen it already. But my God, look at that. That is... And the reason why I say that chat can't push their agenda against other people is because we have to realize there's going to be some people who aren't going to be religious. And, you know, that's their decision, okay? We can only control what we have and what we decide. All right, that's the same for every single person, whether they're religious or not. So I think at this point, it's just better to, you know, hold our own opinions to ourselves and try and just hope for the best. That's the main thing here, because this is going to be as bad as it is. All right, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for anyone. It's going to be pretty bad. Come in. Let's see. So back to this. Back to this. I had to talk to someone who just came into my room, give me some information, personal information, of course, because, you know, personal. But let us see. I want to try and get another thing up here. And I want to change the radar up to Minnesota here real quickly, just for, you know, reference later on in the stream. We can talk about some severe weather. I want to talk about real quickly hurricane hunters. And first things first, they did a circle here. And most likely why they did that is because there's most likely a lot of turbulence within this general vicinity, indicating some very heavy rising motion, which goes to show that there's a lot of energy being exhausted from this storm. So there is a lot of activity that is really starting to kind of congeal right within this area, and it's causing a lot of issues for these hurricane hunters who are trying to find valuable data, trying to figure out how strong this storm actually is right now, so that the weather models can actually program and figure out what's going to happen later. It's making it very difficult for them to do so. Let's take a look at the HWRF model here. Let's actually, instead, let's go over to Weatherbell, because these are some better graphics. I'm going to not sugarcoat it here for anyone. These are just better graphics than Tropical Tidbits. We're going to talk about the surface winds here in miles per hour. And first things first, if you want to take a look at the timings, this area right here gives you the timing of when this system is actually going to move on through. Of course, this timing is in Eastern Daylight Time, so for people who enjoy Central Daylight Time, I'm sorry, but it's just because I live on the East Coast. So there we go. Centered it about right there, and that should be good. So by looking at the HWRF model, this shows most likely this system intensifying significantly on its approach to Louisiana. Already 107 mile per hour winds in the beginning of this model run here from the HWRF model. And then as it continues to propagate further and further, I just saw a maximum wind speed right down here of 131 miles per hour. That is sustained, not wind gusts. That is a sustained mile per hour wind right there. So there is a lot of activity that's really starting to kind of congeal. And then within this run right here from the HWRF model, 145.9 miles per hour. 145.9 miles per hour is the maximum wind from the HWRF model. And the HWRF model, within 24 hours, I'll say, is actually really good. So we have a lot of activity that is really just starting to kind of uptrend here, according to this model at least. But look at that. Makes landfall. According to this model, they still have it a bit further west of Grand Isle. So that's the good news. If this doesn't make landfall over here near Grand Isle, New Orleans won't get as big of impacts. It still will get big impacts, don't get me wrong. But a lot of meteorologists, as of right now, are saying that this could potentially move a bit further to the east and create more significant impacts within those areas. Mel B with the $5 super chat says, "You do great work, Nate. Keep it up. God bless you and all of our friends in Louisiana." Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. As I said, would not be able to run the channel here without your guys' financial support. So thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. And as I said, I just hope that this isn't as bad as it is anticipated to do so over land. But even after landfall here, you can see winds are expected to still be in upwards of hurricane force. You can see a lot of this kind of maroonish, kind of dark reddish color that is even over land. And yeah, that is still hurricane force winds right within the area. That is still very strong. So they're still expecting this storm to continue as a very strong storm as it continues to move about closer and closer to the coast. A very, very concerning situation here, still ongoing. If you haven't already, please be sure to share this live stream with friends and family and on social media to try and help me get this word out as much as possible. That'd be greatly appreciated because there could be some people that are still over in Louisiana. They may not want to leave. And so I just want to tell them what's exactly going to happen for their area, as well as tell them that I will be live streaming tomorrow so that when this thing does get there, I will have all sorts of content for them, like live storm chaser, live probes that we'll be able to see into the eye of the hurricane. We'll have radar, we'll have satellite hurricane hunters, we'll have all sorts of data to tell them what exactly is going to be going on, especially if they lose power. If they lose power and they're going to try and use their cell service, like their phone, they'll be able to come to my channel. We'll be able to get them more and more information. So if you haven't already, please be sure to share this with friends and family and on social media, like Facebook, like Twitter. And if you haven't already as well, please like the live stream, because by liking the live stream, you're actually telling YouTube to recommend this live stream to more and more onto their platform, onto people's recommended feeds. That would be greatly appreciated. So as I said, we can continue to get this word out as much as possible to as many people as possible. And this information could be crucial for people who live in this general area. So definitely something that would help me out and help other people out substantially. Let's go and talk about here. Let's talk about just general things here, like the rainfall potential that is anticipated, storm surge, potential for tornadoes as well. Let's talk about total rainfall here. And the maximum expected rainfall here within this system as it approaches Louisiana is going to be substantial, all right? Don't get me wrong. Areas here in this pink, you're expected to see above a foot of storm, well, not storm surge, expected to see over a foot of total rainfall. And add that on top of the storm surge, and you have significant flooding across the board. Significant flooding across the board. So the rainfall rates are already going to be significant within these areas. And even if you're not in the pink, if you're in these reds areas right here, that's a little below to maybe around a foot of rain, maybe even higher in some spots. And that is going to be very significant, very high risk for some flooding. And if we take a look at the storm surge, we're going to go to the we're going to go to this real quickly just to show you what the National Hurricane Center says across the board, what storm surge could be like. We have areas here as far west as Sabine Pass to Vermilion Bay, expecting 1 to 6 feet, I should say, 1 to 6 feet of storm surge. It'll progressively get worse and worse as you get closer and closer towards Morgan City. So that's the big thing there. Then from Vermilion Bay to Morgan City, all the way up to the mouth of the Mississippi River, expect 6 to potentially 15 feet of storm surge. 15 feet. That is a lot. That is big. That is huge amounts of storm surge. Very significant. I did fix it. Oh my goodness. Wow. Mom Sucks with the $50 super chat and or donation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the $50 donation. I really do appreciate that. You didn't have to, but thank you so much. I'm very grateful. Mom Socks, thank you so much. Anyways, my goodness. Let's, as I said, storm surge. 10 to 15 feet expected from Morgan City all the way over to the mouth of the Mississippi. That is catastrophic level storm surge anticipated within your area. And then you also have 7 to 11 feet of total storm surge anticipated from the mouth of the Mississippi River, the Mississippi River Delta, to as far north as Biloxi, Mississippi. So you're expected to see high amounts of storm surge within your area as well. And even Lake Pontchartrain and Lake Marapis, you're expected to see 4 to 8 feet of storm surge as well. So even if you're over around those lakes as well, you are anticipated to still get storm surge. Storm surge doesn't just have to come from the ocean, although stuff near Pontchartrain is technically from the ocean. So there is a lot of activity there. But yeah, there is substantial amount of storm surge within your area. And we'll take a look as well at the storm surge inundation in your interactive map. We'll actually turn off the intertidal layer and just put inundation layer only. And you guys can see all sorts of these colors across the board, okay? All sorts of these colors. And this actually shows here the amounts of storm surge anticipated within your area. So areas in the blue is 1 foot or greater above ground level storm surge within your general vicinity. Areas in the yellow is greater than 3 feet above ground level storm surge. Areas in the orange greater than 6 feet above ground level. And areas in the red, which there are a lot of areas in the red. A lot of areas in the red across the board here. This shows you greater than 9 feet above ground level storm surge, some of which could even be higher than 9 feet. So that's very significant here. Now, I heard some people talk about the tornado threat, which I did say that there was, if I didn't say there was a tornado threat, at least, there is a tornado threat that is associated with this system. And we're going to take a look at that by going to the Storm Prediction Center. Go to their outlook here. And you can see that there is a 1 out of 5 on the severe weather scale indicated in the dark green and a 2 out of 5 indicated in the yellow here, which is a slight risk as well. Now, the reason why this is a slight risk is because if you look at the tornado probabilities, there is a 2% chance, which is indicated in green, a 2% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of a point. And then you also have areas here in the brown, which is a 5% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of a point there as well. So these areas here that are not just being impacted by the eye, areas in southeastern Louisiana, into southern Mississippi, Alabama, into the western panhandle of Florida, could potentially get some tornadic conditions from this system. So there is a lot of activity that is really starting to kind of ramp up here within this general area. A lot of activity. Wacky Fantastic with the $10 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. As I said, would not be able to do this channel without your guys' support. So thank you guys so much for the support. And we also for reference, we also have, we're approaching 14,000 subscribers, I should say. We're approaching 14,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. And as I said, turn on notifications to stay up to date with my channel tomorrow, as I will be going live when this thing makes landfall. We'll have a live storm chaser. We'll have probes that will show a camera of what's happening in the eye. We'll have all sorts of stuff here for you all tomorrow. So please be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already. So let's talk about that tornado risk here real quickly. Let's talk about that tornado risk. Let's bring up the composite reflectivity here from the HWRF model. And the thing about it is, with this system, is we have a lot of these bands that go around the actual storm here. This is actually a good example of it. You guys see these little outer bands, these little lines that extend further out from the tropical system. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. You guys see what I mean? So, with stuff like that, these little bands can actually produce tornadoes within them. They can actually have little areas of rotation that start to get more and more significant. So, there is a pretty widespread area, pretty widespread swath of this as this continues to propagate further and further northward. So there is a lot of activity here. A lot of activity. And this will expand very far north, south, and east. Not exactly all too west, because the system is going to be moving off towards the north and east after it makes landfall, but definitely a lot anticipated over there. Now, one thing I do want to make clear to anyone here in the chat. One thing I do want to make clear to everyone in the chat is that there's a couple people that are mentioning the word bomb cyclone around, okay? Mentioning the word bomb cyclone. And, you know, that's cool and all, except for the fact that this system is not a bomb cyclone, and that you can't have bomb cyclones with tropical systems, all right? That's not how that works. Bomb cyclones happen when you have constant flow of jet streams with a mid-latitude low-pressure system, which, for those of you who don't know what a mid-latitude low-pressure system, it's basically the stuff that causes severe weather and blizzards and stuff. And this does not cause severe weather or blizzards. Or at least, I'd have to check it again. I'd have to see if this somehow managed to goes to, like, below freezing, sub-zero temperatures, starts becoming a blizzard across the board. But people are using the word bombogenesis, bomb cyclones. You can't have that with tropical systems. It's very similar to rapid intensification, but it's not. So if you hear anyone say stuff like that, just realize that you can't have that. You can't have that at all. That's not how that works in weather. It's not. I don't have to be the one to tell you this. Don't have to be the one to tell you this. But you're not supposed to use the word bomb cyclone because it sounds more significant. Stuff like that. Yeah, that's not how that works. And I even made a Twitter post about it because it made me upset. I was like, dude, can people just get weather right for once, please? Can they even, you know, talk about it correctly, please? You know, I'm trying my best here. I'm trying to have my credibility as, you know, as good as it can get for people to try and, you know, think that I'm trustworthy. You're not helping me, please. You know what I mean? So I just had to make that clarification for you all. That if you hear the word bombogenesis or bomb cyclone and saying that Hurricane Ida is going to turn into a bomb cyclone, just know that's not how that works. That's not how that works. There's a couple people on YouTube who said it. It's not just one person. I won't name names, but that's not how that works. Debbie Logan with the $10 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate the support to the channel. I really do. Thank you. Thank you so much for the support to the channel. A tropical cyclone is not a mid-latitude cyclone. That's only for stuff that follows jet streams and troughs. High and shear. This does not have shear with it attributed, so that's the reason why it's not a bomb cyclone. So the hurricane hunters are taking their time. They're definitely taking their time. And this hurricane hunter gave up. I don't think it actually gave up here, but they kind of had to turn around here, and I don't know why. But you can see how their original trajectory was for them to approach from the northwestern side to go to the southeastern side to kind of split it. But then they turned around here. They turned around, and I don't know what they found. I don't know if there's any sort of malfunction in the actual aircraft, or they found a vortex within the system. So I don't know what they found there, but they definitely decided that it's not worth going that way. So we'll have to watch out and see what they talk about it. Skywatcher777 with the $10 super chat says, love seeing all the donations going out to you. You deserve all of them. Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. As I said, you know, I wouldn't be able to do this without your guys' support, whether it's financially, whether it's you guys is actually following my channel. You know, I really do appreciate you guys. I really do. You know, as I said, we're approaching 14,000 subscribers here, and my goal for this month was 13,500. So I really do appreciate all the people who have helped out my channel, whether by liking the live stream or subscribing. I just thank you guys so much. I'm gonna actually take a look. There isn't data for that area. That sucks. I was gonna tell you, oh, what was happening there out in front of it. Maybe get a decent idea, but nothing exactly all too interesting to look out for. So let's just take a look at the satellite imagery again. See what we can find here with the latest satellite images. And it seems as if it's starting to expand its eye wall a little bit more, and its eye is starting to become a lot smaller here. Let's see if I can measure it here for you all. So the eye itself, let's measure it. Oh, it just updated. The eye got smaller. So there you go. The eye has gotten a lot smaller here. Let's measure it from its widest point. And the eye is about, I'd say 12 miles, because we have this little feeder band right here that's infiltrating into this part. So it might be trying to shed more and more of its actual eye. But yeah, this is definitely definitely showing signs of rapid intensification soon. And whenever you see an eye that gets very, very small in size, that's when you know that it's starting to consolidate a lot of its energy into the center of the storm, and then it will begin to basically use that energy and force it into a very small confined area, essentially intensifying it more and more and more. So that's the big thing there. We call that eye tightening. We have a lot of hot towers or high amounts of convection right around it. So the eye wall is definitely starting to strengthen a bit more. I'm expecting us to see sometime towards the end of the stream here this evening, which will be a lot later tonight, probably at around, I'd say maybe, what, 9, no, I'd say probably 10 o'clock the Eastern Daylight Time tonight. We'll probably start to see it go through either a massive rapidly intensifying phase, I should say, or what most likely would be an eye wall replacement cycle. But either or, there's expected to be a lot of activity here pretty soon. So I'm really curious as to what the hurricane hunters are going to find within this system. Skywatcher, as I mentioned, with the $10 super chat, I really do appreciate it. CWG with the $5 super chat says, I usually never super chat, but you actually corrected my definition of bombogenesis. So here you go, you win. Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And, you know, it's all good. You know, it's all good. It's just when, you know, there's people out there with a high influence in a community and stuff like that. But I had to make that point across, that just because the word bombogenesis, you know, bombogenesis sounds a lot more significant, a lot more significant, I should say. I said significant twice. A lot more significant, a lot more severe. It does not mean that you can use the word. It does not mean that you can use it. That's just basically for flattery and, you know, show TV and stuff like that. So that's just not how that works. Wanted to correct it for you all. Wanted to be correct with the weather and how it's pronounced, because I owe it to you all to be as accurate as possible. So that's the big thing there. Jack McCurry with the $5 super chat says, awesome coverage of the storm. Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. You know, as I said, I wouldn't be able to do this without your guys' support, whether it's by, you know, helping me with analytics of my videos, live streams, or financially supporting me. I just want to tell you all, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Let's go look at the 3D imagery again, because I just want to look at the 3D imagery again. No offense, but this thing kind of just looks cool. As terrifying as it could be, this thing looks really cool. We just got an update from IEM bot. Ida just got its advisory. It's still a 105 mile per hour category 2, so it has not intensified from the sustained winds aspect of it. However, it has dropped 5 millibars. It has dropped 5 millibars. It is a 969 millibar category 2 hurricane, and it is 10 miles per hour. It's actually technically 6 miles per hour away from being a major hurricane, a category 3. But as of right now, that does seem to be the case to where this is starting to get lower and lower with its pressure. Now, the one thing I want to talk about here real quickly, we're going to go back to the cone here. They probably would have changed the cone by now, but I really don't care because it's going to say the same exact thing. A lot of these areas here, you guys can see these red highlighter spots on the southeastern side of the state of Louisiana and even portions of Mississippi. There's a little bit that's leaking onto it. And that is an indication of a hurricane warning, okay? So areas in there, they have a hurricane warning that is ongoing. Kasumi Wolf, hello, how are you? Welcome to the stream. So areas in the red, that's hurricane warning. Areas in the blue, that is a tropical storm warning, okay? So if you're in any one of those warnings, you're expected to see that sort of condition. So if you're in a hurricane warning, you're expected to see hurricane conditions, tropical storm warning. You get the gist. But I also want to point out here real quickly the storm surge watch and warning map here as well. And this is an interactive map that we can use here as well. There aren't any storm surge watches at the moment. There aren't any. Areas here in this pink, all of which are in a storm surge warning. And the one thing I want to point out is that notice how far inland the warning actually goes. Notice how far inland the storm surge warning actually goes. So this is the big thing here, that this is anticipated to bring widespread storm surge and significant storm surge across this general area. So there is a lot of activity anticipated here. And just by going over to the storm surge inundation map, we love going to this because we can't emphasize it enough. You're going to see a lot of this here. If the National Hurricane Center actually refreshes, because what might have happened is that because there's so many people going to the National Hurricane Center's website, it might actually have crashed the page. It might actually have crashed the page. Jackie Hartman, what's up? Welcome to the live stream. How are you? Yeah, I think that people have crashed the page because there are a lot of people on here. Nope. We got onto it, surprisingly. There we go. It's loading at a slow rate, but we're getting there. While that loads, let's take a look and see what the Hurricane Hunters have done. If you guys are new, and the last time we left off on the Hurricane Hunters, they kind of have been dodging some areas in the northwestern side of the storm. We don't exactly know why. They're pushing it off of its main trajectory, giving it a lot of issues. You can see how this one did a couple circles within one spot, potentially trying to get away from some turbulence, and it actually went away. They put a dropson here, so that's interesting. What's this dropson say? I don't know why they put a dropson here. I'm going to be completely honest with you, because the winds here at all levels of the atmosphere that it actually has been flying over is not really that significant. Winds are at maximum 55 miles per hour. Maybe a lot of turbulence over there, maybe. And that definitely could be the case once you get into the upper portions of the atmosphere, but I don't see a whole lot of... Let's take a look at the remarks here. Remarks of the section. A descending radio saw and tracked automatically by satellite navigation with no solar or infrared correction. Yeah, I do not see here any reason why they decided to avoid this particular spot on Hurricane Ida. Because they did a lot of circles here. They probably did 2 or 3. That's at least what I can see here. So maybe a bit of turbulence that was ongoing with this system. That could definitely be a possibility here. But there is definitely a lot of activity that they were encountering just a second ago. And then we also have the hurricane hunters here from the Air Force. Yeah, there's 2 different divisions of hurricane hunters. You have what happens with the National Hurricane Center and how they send stuff out. So that's from NOAA and OAA. And then they have the hurricane hunters here from the Air Force. From the Air Force itself. And they also go out into these systems too. So there's a lot of activity that we are anticipated to have here within the next couple of hours. As I said, we will be live streaming for quite some time this evening. So if you want to stay tuned, get the latest information. I'm actually really curious about what's happening here at the center because we have not had a single idea as to what's happened there within the past hour. And rapid intensification could definitely still be on the table, especially since, if you think of it this way, tropical systems rapidly intensify 60 miles per hour within the short period of 18 to 24 hours. So there is a lot of uncertainty as to what's currently happening right now in that eye wall. We'll actually pull up the infrared satellite imagery to show you all what it looks like here from Tropical Tidbits. First things first, some of you in the chat have already noticed we have hit 14,000 subscribers, everyone. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. You know, we're slowly climbing. We're slowly climbing to the top, gathering more and more people who want to know stuff about the weather. Even maybe some that are passionate like myself. So thank you guys so much for helping me get up to 14,000 subscribers. I really do appreciate it. And if you haven't already and you want to stay tuned to weather content, then please be sure to subscribe as well. Even turn on notifications because even after Ida, we are anticipating there to be more hurricanes somewhere. Most likely in the Atlantic. Where that will make landfall, we don't know at the moment, but the minute I know where it's going, I will tell you. Because we were one of the first ones to track this storm. We were the first ones to track this storm here on YouTube, or at least that I can remember. There was maybe 1 or 2 other people that were talking about it, but we were the first ones to track it and basically forecast that this was most likely going to be a major hurricane upon its approach. So if you want to stay tuned to my analysis of these tropical systems, even further into hurricane season, let's say a hurricane could potentially hit the peninsula of Florida. Let's say it could hit Texas. Let's say it can go up the East Coast into the Carolinas again. I will be right here. I will be right here covering it all the way through. You have my word. People are asking me to check the 8 o'clock advisory cone. We're going to check the cone here. And we can see that stuff really hasn't changed all too much. We have still a lot of hurricane warnings, still anticipated to be a major. Lot of stuff that is really starting to kind of progress further and further. Am I worried about the levees? Yeah, I'm definitely worried about some of the levees there too. But yeah, there is a lot of a lot of activity anticipated to move on through into your general vicinity. I want to take a look at the models here, and I want to take a look at the GFS. GFS, I think, is going to give us a good idea as to what could potentially happen. Let's take a look at... Let's take a look at U.S. regions, and then we're going to go down to the Deep South or the Southeast. Let's go Deep South first. Yeah, Deep South's probably going to be the best here. We're going to take a look at the total precipitation that can be anticipated within your area. Timing is not really going to be all that necessary to look at in this instance, although if you want to take a look at the timing, top left-hand part of your screen, I live on the East Coast, so the timing is going to be in Eastern Daylight Time. So if you want to find it in Central Daylight Time, you'll have to just subtract an hour from it. But if we take a look here as this continues to progress and get closer and closer, according to the GFS model, they are anticipating rainfall amounts specifically near New Orleans and potentially even areas near Baton Rouge to potentially get rainfall amounts above 15 inches. You can see there is a massive area here of purple right here. And that is an indication of 15 inches or above in total rainfall here, according to the GFS. And the Euro model is way different here. Euro model says the exact same thing, but on a widespread scale. You can see some of these purples that are indicated right within that area. So on a lot more wider scale, broader scale, it is anticipated that this will continue to basically bring a substantial amount of rainfall here within these storms. So we really have to watch out for this as this continues to move about. We really do. So definitely something we're going to have to watch out for as this continues to move about. Also, guys, real quickly, if you guys have a Discord server or a Discord profile, Discord account, I should say, I just sent a link in the chat. All right, that is my Discord server. We have over 1,200 people who actively talk in there. Well, not all of them, of course, but some of them do. And if you want to join the Discord server, link is in the chat right there. Be greatly appreciated if you guys would. Be greatly appreciated. Because, of course, why wouldn't we want to grow more and more on that platform as well? As Twist of Fate is one of our sponsors here, so thank you, Twist of Fate, for sponsoring the channel. I really do appreciate it. They've been with my channel for quite some time, of course. You know, they are very hardworking over there, so thank you so much for helping out with my channel, helping me get out to where I am right now, so thank you so much. Let us see. I'm going to look at some of the questions here in chat. Is it intensifying right now? Yes, it is. However, the hurricane hunters are having some very, they're having some great difficulty actually trying to get into the center of the system. So, we'll have to continue to watch out for this as this continues to move about. But, yeah, this storm is continuing to intensify more and more. Is it going further west or further east? So the track apparently has been taking it a little bit closer towards the, a little bit further towards the east, but it is anticipated to make landfall somewhere near Grand Isle, Louisiana. So here's Grand Isle, here's Thibodaux and Huma, which is actually going to be where Matt's going to be going, near Thibodaux. And there is a lot of stuff that is anticipated here to really amplify more. Stuff isn't really going to change all too much, but it is anticipated to get a lot more serious. So, you know, depending upon where this makes landfall, some areas could see more of an impact, some areas could see less of an impact. But the big thing here is that this is still anticipated to be a Category 4 upon landfall. And that could still do catastrophic damage across the board. Homa? That's how it's pronounced? Well, I apologize. I apologize. As I said, I don't live within these areas, so pronouncing geography in Louisiana is not exactly my forte, but thank you for correcting me. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, Homa is still anticipated to get a lot of activity, and they're expected to get a lot of it. I would be showing you guys more stuff here, but the hurricane hunters are really encountering a lot of issues here. They are encountering a lot of issues. So I'm not exactly sure where these are actually going here. But regardless, there is a lot of activity anticipated here soon. So as soon as we get another pass into the system, which it looks like we will be getting one here soon, you can see how the hurricane hunters now starting to kind of go a little bit further south. They're probably going to go here from west to east, finally. From west to east and cross that way into the storm. So there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of stuff that's really kind of congealing here at the last second, more or less. The severe weather threat that someone asked for up here in Minnesota, there's a lot of just damaging winds, a lot of significant damaging winds, actually. A couple severe thunderstorms with 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts here. So if you live in a severe thunderstorm warning, I highly recommend getting into the middle of a sturdy structure. Highly recommend doing that, as these storms could potentially be life-threatening. So please keep that in mind as this continues to progress further and further on. I want to talk here real quickly for any of you who may be new to the channel or new to the live stream and you're trying to figure out, all right, well, why is Hurricane Ida expected to intensify further into a significant hurricane, into a major hurricane? Well, let's take a look here at the upper ocean heat content. This basically shows us how much unstable energy is expected within a certain area. And this could show how much energy there is for a tropical system, in this case, to rapidly intensify. So by looking at this, the blues are areas with not a whole lot of energy. Areas in the kind of sea green to the yellows, that's, you know, some energy. It's a little bit of energy. And then areas here in the reds and even whites in some instances indicate a lot of energy. Significant amounts of energy as well. So we can see already that there is a lot of energy here just to the south and east of Louisiana. And if we go back over to the track, pay attention to the latitude and longitude. I talked a little bit about the tornado threat earlier. It seemed pretty linear earlier, but I did glance upon that. Just pay attention here to latitude and longitude. So it's in between 30 north and 25 north, as well as 90 west and 85 west. So it's almost kind of right in the middle of that box. If we go back over here, we can see that box again, right about here. And we can see right in the middle of that box, there is a lot of these reds and whites. And that indicates that there is a lot of unstable energy ahead of time. A lot of unstable energy. So this goes to show you that there is the potential for this thing to rapidly intensify further and further as it gets closer and closer into these very unstable conditions. And it's almost there at the peak of it. It just got into it here about, let's say, an hour or two ago. Right about then. So there is a lot of activity anticipated for this to continue to really uptrend. So guys, I would appreciate it if you guys would help me get this live stream out to more and more people. As I said, share this with friends and family and on social media, like Facebook and Twitter, to try and get the word out as much as possible, especially if there are people who live over here, or if you know anyone who lives over here. That'd be greatly appreciated. That'd be greatly appreciated if you guys would help get this live stream out to more and more people. And if you want to help me on YouTube as well, get this to more and more people, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button. By doing that, that tells YouTube to recommend this video, this live stream out to more and more people. And that would be greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated, especially since this information could be crucial to some people who live over here and either have evacuated or not have evacuated. So that'd be greatly appreciated. Landfall to be is predicted to be tonight. That would not be the case. We'll go back to the track here. And landfall is actually anticipated sometime tomorrow afternoon. Most likely 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, sometime around that time frame. So that is the good news. And then I will be live streaming tomorrow morning all the way up until the landfall. I do not have a time as to when I will be live streaming specifically. But definitely something to watch out for as it continues to move on through. Ripple Effect with the $2 super chat says, do you think they are cloud seeding? No, in this case, I don't think they are cloud seeding. Usually they would cloud seed for farming and stuff like that. But in this case, the only thing that they're dropping from the ground is thermometers and hygrometers and stuff like that. So a good question though, very good question. But I would have to say as of right now, no. There's already too much energy out there. It wouldn't really do anything anyways. It wouldn't really make all that much of a difference. Because there's already a bunch of rain, showers, and thunderstorms anyways. So they try to create a little bit more. It's not really going to do a whole lot. But thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I believe it was $2 super chat. Sheesh. Yeah, $2 super chat. Losing my mind already. Thank you so much. Looks like the eye is starting to get smaller and smaller. You can see how it's starting to shrink a teeny bit. And expect that to continue to be the case. The eye is expected to get a lot smaller than this as this continues to propagate further and further towards the north and west. Now, impacts here. Impacts. Of course, there's expected to be major impacts across the board. All right, that's going to be the case for, quite some time. Let's go take a look at the HWRF model here. This will show us the rain as well as how organized this is. Let's actually not take a look at that. What would be the best model here in this instance? A part of me just wants to use the NAM 3 kilometer just to get a point across as to how far the rain bands can expand. All right, we're going to use the NAM 3 kilometer, but the thing about it is with the NAM 3 kilometer is that it should not be used for tropical cyclones, all right? I'm using it for tropical cyclones to show you how far the rain could potentially expand, okay? But the intensity as well as the rainfall rate is highly overdone. It is a very, very bad model to use for tropical systems, okay? But I'm still going to use it to show you all how far the rain could potentially expand. And you can see these outer bands expand all the way further into Tallahassee. That's the reason why there's some rainfall amounts that could potentially be over there as well. But these outer bands here, this right here is going to create a huge threat for not only localized flash flooding, but even a tornado threat as well. Because there's been some constant... History has been pretty consistent, I should say, that these outer bands have continuously produced more and more tornadoes the stronger it actually gets. So there is a lot of activity that is anticipated with this storm if it continues to be as strong as it is and continues to strengthen more over time. It will continue to be pretty sporadic and potentially pose a widespread tornado risk. And that is the reason why the Storm Prediction Center has issued a tornado risk as large as it has. Look at this. Areas here in this green indicates a 2% chance for tornadoes within a 25-mile radius. Okay, so within 25 miles of a point, they are expecting a 2% chance for tornadoes. And then areas here in this brown, look at this. Areas here in this brown, a 5% chance for tornadoes within a 25-mile radius as well, within 25 miles of a point. And the thing of it is that as we get closer and closer towards the landfall, we could potentially see higher odds. We could potentially see a 10% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of a point. So this is really something that we're going to have to watch out for as this continues to move about. But these are the probabilities here for tomorrow of your tornado risk. And there will be one. There will be a tornado risk tomorrow. All right. I guarantee you, when we go live tomorrow, we talk about all the radar. We talk about stuff with our storm chaser. Talk about hurricane hunters. I guarantee you, we will talk about a couple of tornado warnings, because there will be some. There will be some tornado warnings from the system. Guaranteed. So, letting you all know ahead of this storm that it's not just the rain, not just the wind, but you also have an isolated tornado threat along those bands that most likely will be pretty widespread. Most likely will be pretty widespread. I'm not calling it a tornado outbreak, but definitely could see a lot of activity here from Ida. Definitely could. And then if we take a look over at the stuff that we've been talking about before, of course, rainfall rates here are expected to be pretty significant. I mean, take a look at this. Rainfall here, indicated in this red, that's 10 inches or above total rainfall, some of which could even be more if it's over a specific band over an extended period of time. So 10 inches or above in total rainfall indicated in that red. In the orange, it's 6 to 10 inches of rainfall, and that expands very much so widespreadly. Look at this. Pensacola, all the way over to Lafayette. You can expect 6 to 10 inches of total accumulated rainfall, maybe even more than that. You even have some areas here in central and northern portions of Mississippi. 6 to 10 inches of rainfall. A lot of these yellows indicate 4 to 6 inches of total rainfall as well, but that just goes to show you how much this tropical system is going to bring on its approach and as it moves through the United States here. A lot of potential impacts with this system. And then here, isolated within this pink, of course, that is over 1 foot of total accumulated rainfall. And on top of the storm surge that's going to be present, which there's going to be a lot of it, specifically areas here from Morgan City over to the mouth of the Mississippi, 10 to 15 feet of storm surge is possible, as well as some other areas around it that could potentially see 6 to 11 feet of storm surge. On top of the storm surge, you're going to see all that rain, and it's just going to basically accumulate on top of each other. More and more rain is anticipated with this. Let's take a look at the expected storm surge amounts here within these areas of Louisiana. All right. What these colors mean is blue could see storm surge 1 foot above ground level. Areas in the yellow, 3 feet above ground level. Areas in the orange, 6 feet above ground level. And then areas in the red, which there are a lot of them. There is a lot of areas in the red. You can expect 9 feet above ground level total storm surge. 9 feet or above, I should say. Because at this point, you could see some areas higher than that. As I said, there is the potential for 11 to 15 feet. 11 to 15 feet of total storm surge within these areas. That is a lot. And that is significant. It's all the more reason why people should have evacuated when they did. And you can still evacuate right now. You still have a little bit of time. You still have a little bit of time. Just don't go north. Don't go north. The storm will head north. It'll head to your area. So go east, go west. Traffic's going to be bad. Yes. But you'll be able to get out in time if you haven't already. You're in northeastern Louisiana, West Carroll Parish, and we already are under a tropical storm warning already. Yeah. There is so many areas here. Let's take a look at Radar Omega, because we can actually see this. Areas in the dark blue here. Areas in the dark blue. Those are your tropical storm warnings. Areas in the dark red. That is your hurricane warnings. Areas in the bright pink. That is your storm surge warnings. Okay? There are already this many warnings out ahead of this system. There are a lot of it. So that's definitely something to watch out for as this continues to progress. Let's take a look at a live camera here from one of the probes that are anticipated to be impacted by the system here. Let's take a look at this live probe over here, just south and west of New Orleans. And you can see here, for the most part, pretty clear skies. I mean, look at this. You got some blue of the sky. Got a lot of the clouds that are kind of just circulating. So pretty nice image here for the most part. Very nice image. You even have some over here near Homa. Look at this. We have this probe that's on top of a building. So you can expect storm surge to be potentially significant over there as well. And then you have this probe that's in somebody's car. So I'm assuming they're going to probably put this out here somewhere. But yeah, there is already the probes out in front of the system that have been dispatched. And we will be able to see these probes live tomorrow when we cover this, when we cover the landfall of the system, as well as our very own storm chaser, which will be in Thibodeau. And he will be giving you live coverage as well. He'll be showing you all what the conditions are going to be in this general area too. So take that into consideration, and I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would stick around on the channel. As I said, subscribe if you are new and turn on notifications, because you do not want to miss any information here on either Ida or the rest of hurricane season. There could be more hurricanes after this. I think we all can agree that there most likely will be more tropical activity. And so I'll be covering that too. And I'm going to be trying to give you guys as much information as possible when it comes to that. Ceratosaurus Cinema with the $1 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate it. And then Cutchin's Tree Service with the $5 super chat says, you are doing a great job. Tree850.com. Yep. I'll check that out after the stream. But thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really do appreciate it. I really do. Let's take a look. Let's keep the 3D imagery here for the satellite. Satellite imagery here as this continues to progress. And I mean, you can still clearly see that eye, although the eye is starting to get a little bit clouded here. A lot more clouds that are starting to infiltrate the center of the system. So I would definitely consider that. Watch out for that as that continues to move on through. Could potentially be something to make a note of. That either the eye is trying to clear out, or it's starting to kind of fail a little bit, go through an eye wall replacement cycle. But as of right now, does seem to be a lot of activity for the most part. Yes, I am at 14,000 subscribers, and I have all of you all to thank for that. Thank you guys so much for helping me get up as high as I have. I really do appreciate it, as I said. Let's see if aircraft reconnaissance have updated, and they're starting to go into the center now. They're starting to get into the center. They're starting to go. Too late to get out now. We're ready to hunker down here in southeastern Louisiana. Well, I pray for you, my friend. I pray for you. So now they're about to make another pass into the center of the system. We're going to go on to Google Earth. It'll show you. Let's see if I can refresh the satellite data, because that's a little bit behind. Refresh. Mesoscale. and black and white infrared satellite imagery. And here we go. So you can see the little obscuring in the eye right there, and the hurricane hunters are going right for it, right there. So we're about to get our information. We're about to see what is happening here. We're about to see what the hurricane hunters are getting out from the system. They've taken a lot of very erratic paths to get here, to get to this point. But we definitely have some activity here already. So just all the more reason why you guys should stick around. And we're going to both react to the intensity of this storm here live as this reconnaissance plane gets closer and closer towards the eye of the storm. If you haven't already, please be sure to share this live stream with friends and family and on social media. That would be greatly appreciated because we're going to want to try and get this information out to as many people as possible. Try and keep people updated with this storm more and more. And especially if there's any people who are going to be, you know, staying behind, staying in Louisiana, staying in Mississippi. All right, I will be live streaming tomorrow when this storm makes landfall. And maybe even a little bit after that, okay? So I'll be giving you guys all sorts of coverage. I'll be able to keep you guys updated as to where the bad areas could potentially be and whether or not you need to prepare ahead of time. So if you guys are willing to stick around, even into tomorrow's live stream, feel free to, you know, subscribe and turn on notifications and share this with people who are even over there as well. And just to help out too, help out with sharing this with more and more people. If you guys actually like the live stream, if you guys hit that thumbs up button, you guys actually help me get this video onto more and more people's recommended feeds on YouTube, because YouTube actually recommends this live stream to more and more people. That's probably how some of you actually found this live stream. Because you were scrolling on your recommended feed, you saw, oh wow, latest information, live significant Hurricane Ida. I wonder what this is. And so that's the same way as to how we can get this information out to more and more people. Debbie Logan with the $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate it. I really do. What is Nashville going to look like Wednesday? Well, Wednesday, and we'll just make a giant image here for all of you. As the storm progresses after landfall, we can see how this thing will continue to progress further and further, and it'll become a bit more expanded. You can see a lot of these showers and thunderstorms that actually extend further and further into places like Nashville, where they had that significant flood, like Alabama, like Georgia, a lot of these outer bands that could potentially create a tornado threat. And so there's a lot of activity that is anticipated here with this more and more as this continues to progress. And there is a lot of it. There is a lot of it. Look at this. Look at how wide this system actually expands. So on Wednesday, you guys are anticipated to get more and more of this storm. Most likely, potentially get some heavy amounts of rain. Taking a look at the rainfall rate here for you all. And from the GFS, they're anticipating about, say, 1 to 2 inches of rain, maybe even 3 inches of rain in localized spots here on the southern end of the storm. Now, another model is probably going to say another thing here too. And it is. It's going to say a lot more widespread 3 to even 4 inches of rain in towards Memphis and even further east of Memphis. And it also says over here in Mississippi, a lot of rainfall over here too. And upwards of 6 to maybe even 7 inches of total accumulated rainfall here as well. So the Euro paints a very different picture than the GFS as to how things could be a lot more significant with the rainfall rates. And then, of course, we are anticipating that there most likely will be a potential tornado threat with this as well, with some of the outer bands from the system. If you can see some of these little outer bands that extend even out in front of the system, then you can expect to see some strong damaging winds, even the chance for tornadoes there as well. So definitely something to watch out for as this continues to move about. 100%. All right, has the Hurricane Hunter data refreshed. Did we get new data? Yes, we did. We got a couple probes here. So we got a couple, we have a couple drops-ons. They dropped some instruments into the system. And we have a couple amounts of data here from it too. So this drops on here. That's the closest to the eye as of right now. It's not in the eye wall, but it's in between the outer bands and the actual eye of the storm. And it found 51-mile-per-hour winds at the surface. So if we already have 51-mile-per-hour winds right here, and we're not even close to the eye wall, that's going to be pretty big. That's going to be pretty significant. And we could potentially be talking about maybe a 110-mile-per-hour storm here. But from most of the data that we can see, it seems as if the wind is going to steadily progress up higher and higher, as we typically could expect it to do so. And as of the latest data here from the hurricane hunters, they found about 60-mile-per-hour winds. So their position is right about here, indicated in this plane. And here's the eye. And right here is the eye wall. So they're not even in the main part of the storm, and they're already finding some high-end tropical storm force winds with this. Cutchin's Tree Service with a $20 super chat. Thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Really does help support my channel out. At least financially. But thank you so much. He says, what is the chance it moves east? Right before landfall, we will be in the middle Mobile area of Alabama on Tuesday with 4 tree crews. I don't think it has that big of a chance to move further east as of right now. The furthest east it probably could move is Grand Isle, which means that New Orleans could potentially be impacted that way, but I don't think it'll move like, say, make landfall over here in Mississippi move. I think it'll stay close enough towards Louisiana to where that's going to be the area to make landfall. But good question, though. Good question, and thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. What's the air pressure right now? So the center of Ida is, I believe, 969 millibars, I think is what it was. Let me double check that here for you. Yeah, 969 millibars. And the pressure of the aircraft reconnaissance plane at the moment, the extrapolated pressure at the surface is 997. So it is getting lower and lower. It is getting lower and lower. Thank you guys so much for all the subscriptions, by the way. As I said, we're around 14,000 subscribers. It seems as if YouTube actually did one of those things to where when a bunch of people subscribe, it actually adds a bunch of accidental subscribers. So our real subscriber account is actually 13,980, apparently. So we're that close to 14,000 subscribers again. If you haven't subscribed already, please be sure to do so. As I said, we're getting you guys the latest information, and we're going to be doing so even tomorrow, so that'd be greatly appreciated. They've flown into the storm. They've flown right next into the eye. So here we go. Let's react to it live. What did they find? They found a bunch of hurricane force winds here at the at flight level. Look at this. A lot of these oranges indicate a lot of hurricane force winds here at flight level. And then they found at the surface 62, 63 miles per hour at the surface, 67, 70, 71, 72, 77, 80, 81, 83, 90, 90, 92, 100. 100. They found 100 mile per hour winds at the surface here on the western side of the storm. So on the western side of the storm, they found Cat 2 winds, Category 2 hurricane force winds. And on the eastern side is expected, keyword expected, to be worse than that. So there you go. They found that's what the surface winds were, according to the hurricane hunters. And then the pressure, they are right next to the eye here. Of course, they still got surface winds of about 51 miles per hour, so it's not exactly the eye yet. But the surface extrapolated pressure which can be exaggerated by about 2 millibars. So it would probably be a little bit higher. But the extrapolated surface pressure is 966 millibars. We can expect the pressure, in that case, to be around 968 millibars, meaning that this is most likely intensifying further and further. So that's the big thing there. This thing is getting stronger. And we are anticipating this to move on through. And as soon as the hurricane hunters get through the eye, we'll be probably seeing stronger hurricane force winds than 100 miles per hour. But yeah, this is knocking on the door of Category 3 status. And it probably will be a Category 3 by tonight. I want to update Radar Omega here real quickly. So I'm going to close out of Radar Omega and then open it again. And they are still anticipating this to be a 130 mile per hour Category 4 upon landfall. So, doesn't have a lot of time for it to be a Category 5, which is the reason why they don't anticipate this to be a Category 5. But a Category 4 hurricane is still possible. Category 4 hurricane is still possible. And of course, it's a Category 2 as of right now, with 105 mile per hour winds. But Category 3 is at minimum 111. And once it reaches that Category 3 hurricane status, it will be designated as the name Major Hurricane Ida. So very significant impacts expected from this. I was just checking Twitter to see here of what all my notifications were. Yeah, we got a lot of people on Twitter who follow me, so I really do appreciate you guys who do so. Let's see if the other aircraft reconnaissance actually picked up here. It doesn't look like it. I don't exactly know why this is updated here. Let's refresh. Yeah, so I'm kind of puzzled as to where this current aircraft reconnaissance is going or where it currently is at. I don't think it's crash landed, of course. I don't think that's the case. But I definitely think they haven't stayed in the same area over the past 20 minutes, because obviously a plane doesn't just hover. It flies. It flies in all sorts of different directions, so... There's a lot of that. You're on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Will it be bad? It definitely could be bad. Storm surge is expected to be pretty significant over your area. Here in areas near Gulfport, you can expect storm surge to be in upwards of potentially 3 feet above ground level. Now, it could be worse in some areas. If you're in the St. Louis Bay, then it's going to be very much so significant. And if you're near, like, Pass Christian, maybe even Long Beach, it's expected to be higher than that, to maybe 6 feet above storm surge. So I guess it would depend upon how far away from the Gulf Coast you are. Because, like, say, areas near Biloxi and Gulfport, they're going to get some pretty substantial storm surge. Even areas here in the Big Lake, Bay of Biloxi, areas along the border of Alabama and Mississippi, expected to get a lot of storm surge. Gulf Park Estates expected to get a lot of storm surge. So it just really depends upon where you're actually situated. But yeah, there is a substantial amount of storm surge anticipated with this. I mean, look at all of these reds, guys. Look at all these reds. All these reds indicate greater than 9 feet above ground level storm surge. Greater than 9 feet. That's above 1 story. Or it's about or above 1 story. But most housing units are about, say, 9 feet. with one floor. So there's expected to be some widespread significant floods here. And someone made a good point in chat. Yeah, there most likely will be river floods with this. Because there's going to be a substantial amount of rain on top of this. Look at the total U.S. rainfall here from the Weather Prediction Center. So you have the Storm Prediction Center, you have the National Hurricane Center, and then you have the Weather Prediction Center, which predicts a bunch of floods and stuff. And you have it right here. Look at this. A lot of reds, a lot of pinks, a lot of oranges. There is a lot of activity here. And so these oranges alone indicate 6 to 10 inches of total rainfall. 6 to 10 inches. And you can see how wide that expands. Look at this. It goes all the way over to Pensacola. You even have some areas of orange up here in central to northern portions of Mississippi. And that's well off the coast. That's well off the coast. So you can expect some heavy amounts of rain off of that. And then even, of course, areas here in southeastern Louisiana are going to get absolutely hammered. Areas in the red, that's 10 to 15 inches of total accumulated rainfall. And then areas in the pink, my goodness, that's over a foot. Over a foot of total accumulated rainfall. 10 to 15 inches of rain. 10 to 15. That is a lot, and that's pretty significant. Let's take a look here at the models. Let's take a look at the HWRF model. Let's go back to the beginning, and let's take a look at the surface winds here. All right, so this is what one model run says that what will be the worst case scenario for this tropical system as it makes landfall. So if you want to pay attention to the time, top left-hand corner of your screen is where you'd find it. And here we go. Let's watch it as this continues to progress. So look at this. Winds, this giant wind field of kind of this, dark red and this white expand further and further. And the dark red here indicates 100 miles per hour. Very dark red shade, 100 miles per hour across the board. And we can see that here too. Bottom right-hand side, this is your maximum wind speed here. Maximum wind speed. So we already have 125 miles per hour. That's category 3. All right, so watching this continuing to progress further and further here. 131 miles per hour, 127, 145 mile per hour winds here. That's the worst case scenario here with this system. A category 4 hurricane. That is a lot. That is really fast. And the thing about it is here too, folks, that I do want to mention is that regardless of it being a category 4 hurricane or a category 5 hurricane, the impacts are still going to be the same. The impacts are still going to be the same. It's still going to be very significant, damaging winds, heavy amounts of rainfall, and storm surge. So we got to continue to pay attention to this more and more. We got to get the information out as much as we possibly can, because winds like that, if people haven't evacuated already, that can easily damage a house. And this is like easily level a house, I should say, in some instances, because some of these winds, 140 mile per hour sustained winds, that's just consistent wind speed, consistent. It's not like a tornado where it's just after 5 minutes, it's done. This will be happening over an elongated period of time. A long, widespread period of time. That's what makes hurricanes so dangerous, is because you have the storm surge, you have the flooding. But on top of that, if you're trying to take shelter and you're in a weak sheltered building, a weak structured building, it'll get demolished. And then you're exposed. And if you're trying to get to like the highest level of your building during all this storm surge, all this flooding, and that top level gets demolished, it's basically a situation where there's nowhere else to run. And the thing of it is too, is that for the people who haven't evacuated and they're going to be impacted, like near Homa, If you're near Homa and Grand Isle and you haven't evacuated, all right? I just want this to set in. Not only for you, but for everyone else who's in the chat. Everyone has already evacuated. So if you have a medical emergency, or if you need to be rescued, and you try and call 911, you try and call emergency services, they will not come for you. Because I literally just said everyone evacuated. That includes emergency management. They will not come for you. They will not help you. So you better hope that you know what you're doing. And you better hope that you're at a high elevation. Because if you're not, if you're anywhere near the areas that I just called, you will be impacted. Damage could be devastating in some spots. Could be catastrophic in some spots. So that's all the more reason why you need to get out. Because by the time it comes to tomorrow morning, you won't have enough time. You'd have to find some area of higher elevation within your area. That's the best way to get out of it. That's the best way to escape the system, is if you get to a higher elevation, you get to a sturdy structure. So just let that set in. Let that set in for people. That this could be a very serious situation. Let's take a look at the Hurricane Hunter data. See what they found. Let's refresh the page here. And yeah, they went through the eye right here. So let's see what the lowest pressure they found is. The extrapolated pressure, 965 millibars. So if you add 2 millibars to it, that's about 967 millibars. That's a 2 millibar pressure drop compared to the last pass there, to what the National Hurricane Center, I should say, says. So this thing is intensifying more and more and more. And we're probably going to see a drop sonde here soon. So they're going to probably have a probe that's getting sent into the actual hurricane itself. It'll be dropped. It'll have a thermometer. It'll be calculated with wind speed and stuff like that. Hygrometer, which measures humidity and stuff like that. So there's a lot of impacts that are expected to be brought from the system. Now, the thing of it is, as we continue to move about with time, landfall is expected to be sometime here in the late afternoon and not in the evening anymore. So, before and how the track with the National Hurricane Center, the talk was how the landfall was going to be in the evening. Well, that's not going to be the case anymore. The storm has sped up a bit, which, believe it or not, is actually the good news. Because if it was slower, it would have more and more time over water, which means it would have more and more time to intensify. Once it hits land, it starts to weaken. That's how most tropical systems function. So sometime around 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time, sometime around then, that's when the system is expected to make landfall. So that is the good news there. That is the good news, that this thing is sped up more and more and more. Do you know if any oil platform rigs off the coast have been evacuated? You hope so. I do not know. I do not have that information here on hand with me. But there are some oil rigs out there that are in the pathway of this. Yeah, Federal Aviation Administration has a couple of rigs out there. Yeah. So there's a lot of rigs out here in this general vicinity, but there's definitely a lot over here near the Mississippi River Delta. You can see, here's the outline of Mississippi. You can see all the rigs and lighthouses, even some over here too. So there's a lot of stuff here. A lot of stuff anticipated. Now, we talked about the lowest pressure of the system. Let's talk about the highest winds on the eastern side, because that's what the strongest winds were going to be, right? Let's take a look. 81 miles per hour. 84, 82, 94, 98, 99, 89. So it weakened a little bit on the eastern side. Hasn't wrapped convection around completely, but that tells me that this system's a little bit more symmetrical. Kind of surprised that the northeastern side isn't stronger, which tells me that it hasn't fully wrapped around its eye wall completely, although it has an eye wall. But usually most of the activity would be up here on the northeastern side compared to the western side. So that tells me that the system isn't exactly the best organized, but it also has a lot of thunderstorm activity on the western side. So that could be the answer, could be the reasoning as to why it is what it is. And if we take a look over here at the upper ocean heat content as well, take a look at how much water, how much heat there is and instability there is within the system. And take a look right here. That is an indication that there is a lot of heat, a lot of significant heat, a lot of instability that is most likely going to tack on with the system and add on more and more energy for this as this continues to move off towards the north and east, or north and west, I should say. So in this general direction, it's about to move over that very warm, unstable waters. The actual hurricane is located right about here. Right about here. And it's about to move over those very unstable waters. So all the more reason why we really need to monitor the progress of this system in this intensification period as it continues to move about. We are really close to 800 likes on the live stream, everyone. That'd be greatly appreciated if we guys can get it above 800 likes. As soon as I said that, it actually went above 800 likes there. So thank you guys so much for liking up the live stream. And by doing so, you actually help me get this video out to more people's recommended pages. So that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much. And we're also 5 subscribers away from 14,000 subscribers again. So if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see live coverage like this, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, as we will be covering this system all the way through tomorrow, the landfall, and we even have our storm chaser. We have our storm chaser out there. So we'll be having all sorts of content here available to you all tomorrow in tomorrow's live stream, because there is a lot of activity anticipated with this here. They put a drops on in the center in the eye of the storm, and we have our updated pressure. We have our updated pressure now. The pressure of this system is now 967 millibars from this drop sonde. Right in the middle of the eye. Right smack dab in the middle. That is the pressure. And my goodness, that indicates a heavy drop. A heavy drop in pressure. That only means one thing at this point. This thing is intensifying significantly over a short period of time. So we're going to have to continue to watch out for this as this continues to progress. Of course, the other Hurricane Hunter plane, I don't know where that is because, well, it stayed put in the same spot from the last Reconnaissance check-in spot, I guess. So when it was contacting radar, that was the last spot that it found. And as of right now, it hasn't checked back in. Does anyone know as to why that reconnaissance plane? Oh, geez, the Ravens curb stomped the Redskins. My goodness. Happy about that because I'm a Ravens fan. Um, oh my. Oh my. This is at 4:37 a.m. this morning. I-10. Look at that traffic here in New Orleans. Look at that traffic in New Orleans. Look at how many cars there are. Yeah, I heard J.K. Dobbins got hurt. My goodness. I mean, can you imagine being bumper to bumper like that? I mean, of course, I know some people in New York and in DC and some other metropolitan areas, they have that practically every single day. But I mean, sheesh. Oh, and then this was a tornado way back when. That is an absolute phenomenal image yesterday of that tornado in Colorado from Peter Forrester. That is an amazing tornado too. And you can expect tornadoes with this system as well. You can expect tornadoes to be possible with this storm. So we really need to watch out for this as this continues to progress. I'm trying to see if I can find more stuff here on Twitter, seeing if people can figure out as to why it's as why the aircraft reconnaissance plane did not fly through. See if Anthony M knows. Iowa is opened up in the south. To the south, the eye is also contracted a good bit. Interesting. Yeah, I don't see anything. What about Mr. Tropical Tidbits? Dr. Levi Cowan. He hasn't said anything here. Higher wind estimates of 100 to 105 miles per hour at the surface, which makes sense. Yeah, he hasn't said anything about the reconnaissance either, so I'm kind of confused as to why they turned back. Maybe the conditions within the storm was too significant, I guess. The eye is now opened here. There you go. So here's the open eye. There is the clear eye. It's been trying to really wrap around its eye wall for the good part of the entire evening. Consistently, I should say. So there's been it's been very off and on for the most part in regards to how this thing has been continuously forming. But yeah, it looks like it's starting to regather its eye again, right there at the center. You clearly see it. And it's trying to wrap around that eye wall on the southeastern side. It looks like the northeastern side is not as strong as the southeastern or the southwestern side either. So that's something to watch out for too, is that if it can wrap that convection around to the strongest point of where a typical hurricane would be. But wow, that's interesting. That's interesting as to how it's consolidated over here and not at the top right. But my goodness. Let's see if we can take a look at the visible satellite imagery. It'll update as well. So it'll take its time. It'll take its time doing so. And while we're at it, let's take a look at the aircraft reconnaissance, see where they're tracking still. So they're still going to the north and east of the system. Have they put another drop sonde in? Let's see. So they put a drop sonde right there. What about drop sonde number 23? So drop sonde number 23 was right after the eye wall. So they kind of missed the eye wall here for the most part. That's the reason why it's not picking up over here. But they had another drop sonde of about 50 miles per hour that was right on the outer eye, right about here. Of course, here's the pathway that it took. Here's the eye drop sonde, and then right about there is where the other drop sonde was, so. Yeah, this system's still expected to continue to churn about. Hurricane hunters have had their issues all evening. All evening. But yeah, we have a lot of these wind barbs that are indicating some very heavy amounts of sustained winds. Let's see. It's probably the best thing to look at here in this situation. Probably, let's take a look at one of the probes. Let's take a look at one of the probes that most likely could be in the eye of this system here tomorrow. So we'll take a look at this probe right here, south of Thibodeau. And we'll go full screen to it. Take a look. Relatively, it's kind of cloudy. It's kind of cloudy over there. You got some open skies on the top left-hand part of your screen. But yeah, that is it's a pretty interesting look there. And by this time tomorrow, we're going to be seeing, well, probably not we, because I may not be live at that point. But by sometime tomorrow, when we go live and we show you guys this probe here, you'll be able to see a lot of rain, potentially a lot of storm surge too. And if we take a look at another area that's a lot closer towards the water, look at this right here. Look at this probe. It's on top of a house. And I want you guys to get a decent idea. If you're going to be back for tomorrow's live stream, which, as I said, we will have our own storm chaser, we will have our own probes, and all sorts of stuff like that. Mom Socks, by the way, thank you so much for coming to the live stream. Thank you so much for the $50 donation. Thank you so much, and you have a good night. I want everyone to get an idea of the environment here with this camera. There's a bridge right here. There's a bridge. There's also some docks. You also have another bridge over there. And you have some ground with some of these poles that are sticking out so that boats don't crash into the land. All right, so everyone get a feel of this environment here. Now, by sometime tomorrow, we most likely will see this bridge underwater. Potentially see that bridge underwater. We can see some of these areas across the board here underwater too. So it'll be something to watch out for. As I mentioned, this stuff is going to be occurring tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon. Landfall is expected sometime tomorrow afternoon. So it'll be light outside. We'll be able to see what's happening outside while this thing is unfolding. But just something to make a note of here. Just get used to the environment. Because by this time tomorrow morning, when we come back to this camera, by this time, well, by not this time tomorrow morning, I should say, but in this same area tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, it's going to look a lot different. It's going to look a lot different. Is he heading towards Thibodeau? Most likely. I'd have to talk to him again, but yeah, there you go. There is a live camera, and we're probably going to have a couple more, including our own storm chaser, which will tell us what is happening on the ground over there. And these cameras are going to be consistent. These are the ones that go to the satellite. So when we have some of these other cameras that over here, say, Grand Isle and further along the coast, these areas are most likely going to lose power. These areas are going to most likely lose power, which means those cameras are going to lose power. So we won't be able to know what's happening in those cameras. But these other cameras over here, near Morgan City, near Thibodaux, near Homa, we're going to be able to see live what's going to be happening. We'll be able to see the eye as it continues to move on through. That's the exciting portion, but it's also the terrifying portion. We've prayed and hoped for a while that people have got out. If they haven't already, we hope that they have gotten into a sturdy structure and a place in higher elevation. But at this point, it's just us reacting and trying to figure out as to where the most heavily impacted places are going to be, as well as where some of the tornadoes and the tornado threat could potentially be. So we'll have to continue to watch out for this as this continues to progress on through. Does not look like the hurricane hunters have updated. An emergency shelter for Ida refugees. Ascension Parish opening emergency shelters Sunday morning. 2 evacuation shelters at 8 a.m. for the residents fleeing Ida. Lamar Dixon Expo Center in the gym in the Lowry Middle School in Donaldsonville. So I got to retweet this. Try and get that out to as many people as possible. But here you go. We have some emergency shelters that are now opening for people over here in Ascension Parish. So if you know anyone who lives in Ascension Parish, or if you live in Ascension Parish and you need to get out, but you can't, we got some emergency shelters here. Okay? Is Vicksburg safe? You guys might potentially get some heavy rain and a potential tornado threat, but not exactly as bad of a storm surge flood risk for you all compared to down south. So I think you guys should get some impacts. If we take a look over here at the rainfall amounts, you can see that Vicksburg is within the 4 to 6 inch total accumulated rainfall within your area. And then if we go over here to the Storm Prediction Center, you can see that you guys are also within a 2% chance for tornadoes within a 25-mile radius. So just keep that in mind for tomorrow as this continues to move about further and further. If you guys want to follow my Twitter, feel free to do so. I'll actually put a link in the chat for YouTube. If you're on YouTube, put a link in the chat that way. And I'll be retweeting a bunch of stuff. I'll be looking at a bunch of stuff. Of course, we'll have all the content that'll be provided on here, on YouTube, still here. But there's a bunch of other stuff here that I'll be sharing and recommending to more and more people. Let's actually go back to this. So this is Ascension Parish. What are the other parishes within these areas? Because as I said, I'm not exactly as well equipped with the Louisiana geography as, say, other people, but I don't see any counties here. Situation is somewhat favorable for tornadoes, so that's not a surprise. It does not say which parishes. It says places though: LaRose, Golden Meadow, and Leeville. So over there, they're in a hurricane warning, and of course a storm surge warning as well. Terrebonne, LaForge, Jefferson, and Orleans County. Well, I figured, yeah, Orleans is New Orleans. That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I'll check that later. Orleans County. Or parish, I should say. Parish. There we go. Orleans Parish. This is in Mississippi. No, all New Orleans. All right, never mind. So that's the Medical Society. I don't see... I would need to see if there's any more areas like that, because that's some essential information as well. This might be helpful to you. What is this? Ah, perfect! Look at this. Look at that. Orelon. Oh, is that how it is? Is that how it's pronounced? Orelon. You absolutely pronounce the butcher the pronunciation of... Well, you see, as I said, don't exactly know how to pronounce some of these, so I apologize if I offend anyone. Voluntary evacuations have been ordered for areas in the New Orleans metropolitan area, so they think that some of the levees may actually hold up. But yeah, there's a lot of places here, a lot of these names here that have mandatory evacuations already. This is for Louisiana too, so I'm gonna actually bookmark this and put it in my tropical thing. There we go. If we have more states like this, more websites that are like this for more states, probably would be beneficial to me more and more. But yeah, as I said, lot of mandatory evacuations. That's what most of these red dots are. Yeah, so Assumption Parish, mandatory evacuations, but if you can't get out, all of Assumption Parish, especially those in low-lying areas, mobile homes and RVs. Jefferson Parish, Mayor of Mayor Tim Kerner Jr. and Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Sheng have issued a mandatory evacuation for the town of Jean Lafitte, Lower Lafitte, and Crown Point and Barataria due to tropical... It's not Tropical Storm Ida anymore, it's Hurricane Ida. But they issued it on the 27th, which was, what, yesterday? That doesn't make any sense if they issued it yesterday, but okay. I mean, saying it as a tropical storm, of course. Let's see. City of New Orleans is calling for a mandatory evacuation of areas outside the levee system, including Irish Bayou, Venetian Isles, or Venetian Isle, Venetian. It's probably Venetian. It's probably Venetian Isles. And Lake Catherine beginning 6 p.m. Tuesday, October 27th. Although I don't think that's... wait, what? That's October 27th. What? That does not make any sense. Why did they say Tuesday, October 27th? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, anyways. And then Plaquemines Parish, effective 3 p.m. Friday, August 27th. Mandatory evacuation will be ordered for the entire east bank of Plaquemines Parish. Which would make sense. So basically, all these areas here, you can see here near the mouth of the Mississippi. Yeah. Need to go. Lafayette? Is that how it's pronounced? Wait, no, we already said Lafayette. But yeah, a bunch of these parishes here. We'll actually exit out. We'll refresh the page here. All of these areas here in these red dots, these are all mandatory evacuations. Mandatory evacuations. Areas in the yellow, they are voluntary. So if you want to go, you can. But areas in the red, if you value your life, and if you value most of your property, if you want to take that with you, you need to evacuate. But the thing of it is that time is probably out already, so that's the unfortunate thing. It's pronounced Plaquemines? Sheesh! As I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I mispronounce any of these incorrectly. As I said, I don't live down here, so I apologize. But Plaquemines County, or Plaquemines Parish, I should say, mandatory evacuations, which, as they should. Let's take a look at that storm surge map. Again. And for any of you who are new to the channel, this tells us the total amount of storm surge within a specific area. All right, so let's take a look at the total storm surge within this general vicinity. And I'm going to show you all, just for reference here, take a look at this. The blue is greater than 1 foot above ground level, storm surge. Yellow is greater than 3. Orange is greater than 6. And red's greater than 9. And so, if we zoom in here, that's a lot of red. That is a lot of red. What about southern Mississippi and North Shore? I feel we're being ignored by the New Orleans weather station because they're focused more on spots close to the storm. Well, I want to know if you'll get over 70-mile-per-hour winds. Well, luckily for you, I'm not going to ignore you. Good question. Well, first off, because we're on the topic of storm surge, first things first, I think we've covered enough that areas here in Louisiana, everywhere, is going to get a lot of storm surge. I mean, look at that. It's very widespread. A lot of these reds, there you go. Even Houma, going to get impacted. Thibodeau, probably not as much, but Houma, lot. Areas here in Mississippi, all right? So, I don't exactly know specifically where you may reside, but I do know that areas here along Mississippi are expected to get some heavy amounts of storm surge as well. You can see some of these oranges and yellows in some of these areas, indicating that there could be some potential storm surge in areas like Gulfport, like Biloxi. And they typically get a lot of flood from that too. So I would not be surprised if there was some localized flooding from Ida as well. So if you live right along the coast, expect some localized flooding. Now, in regards to the winds here, in places like Mississippi and Alabama, you can expect some damaging winds within your area here. But you probably could see some wind gusts in upwards of 70 miles per hour, but sustained winds, probably not, being upwards of 50 to maybe 60 miles per hour. But I would not be surprised if gusts got higher than that. The reason why I say that is because the winds just above the surface here, they indicate that some of which could be relatively high. Usually you would take a look at the winds just a little bit above the surface to get an idea as to what the wind gusts could potentially be. And so we're looking at that. We can see some of the browns and some of the whites right within here. And some of the whites indicate about 70 mile per hour wind gusts. So that would be the case there. If you live a bit further on the western side of Mississippi, yes. I would not be surprised if that extended a little bit further eastward as well. It'll be close. Don't get me wrong. It'll be close. But it won't be as significant. But yeah, there's definitely going to be flooding. There's definitely going to be a lot of rain. There's also going to be a tornado threat too. There's also a chance for tornadoes. We'll go over to the reflectivity and show you. See these outer bands right here, guys? See these outer bands that are extending? It's kind of like stacking, like pancakes. All right? See these outer bands? That's what's going to create your tornado risk. And you can see a lot of these outer bands, even over here, they surge eastward of the eye, okay? So you see how all these outer bands, they start to surge in afterwards, after this thing makes landfall. This is going to be a tornado threat right here. So all these areas here from Pensacola all the way through, all the way into where this makes landfall, need to watch out for the tornado threat as well, because there's going to be one. There's going to be one, no doubt. I guarantee you, when we talk about on our live stream tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the tornado warnings. We're going to be talking about a couple tornado warnings at the same time, most likely, and we're going to be giving that coverage to you while we cover the landfall of the system. So there's going to be so much stuff here. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of activity here. I want to real quickly, I want to go to the satellite imagery, or not the satellite. I want to take a look at the Doverick technique. And the Doverick technique basically is an algorithm for the satellite, for satellites. And it basically tells us what the strength, the potential strength of the tropical system actually is. So what they're actually seeing here, and I'm going to zoom in, all right? Current intensity analysis here for Ida, all right? Right here, this is what they're projecting this system is at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Actually, no, not 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. My bad. Yeah, no, 7 Central, around 7 Central. Maybe even a little bit later than that. Probably about 8 Central. So between 7 and 8 Central, that's what the winds are. 99 knots. 957 millibars. Did I say that I'm going to have someone live on the ground tomorrow for a storm chaser? Yes, I will have a storm chaser live on the ground. He'll be telling us what's currently happening as well as giving us a live feed too. So if you want to stay tuned to the channel tomorrow when we do our live stream, feel free to do so. Subscribe and turn on notifications. That would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, look at that. Look at that right there. 99 knots. And just for you who are curious, and you don't know what knots are, what knots to miles per hour is, let's pull up 99 knots. Look at that. 99 knots equals to 113 miles per hour. That is a Category 3 major hurricane if that algorithm for the satellite is correct. And that's live right now. That's what just occurred 30 minutes ago. They went through that algorithm, they pulled that up, and according to the satellite, they are saying that this is a major hurricane right now. My goodness. Let's go see what the satellite has this. Let's go to the SatCon. And let's take a look at Ida. And here's the graph for the intensity guidance from the SatCon. This is another satellite here. Another satellite. And another algorithm. And you can see here, as it continues to progress further and further, the line is actually the best track. It takes it right here, flatlines at about 90 knots, which is about 100 miles per hour, maybe 105 miles per hour. ADT actually takes it higher than that to about almost 100 miles per hour, which would be very close to Category 3 strength. So, very significant storm that these satellites are projecting. And if the hurricane hunters can go back into the center of it again, then we might be able to have more information. But unfortunately, we don't have that right now. The aircraft reconnaissance, this Air Force plane, hasn't been giving us information. He probably headed back because there's some sort of probably some form of malfunction that occurred. And then the NOAA reconnaissance plane is heading back. You can see right here, they would have made a turn by now. They would have made a turn somewhere probably over here. Probably would have done that. But instead, they're going back home. They're going back to, I believe it's Lakeland, Florida. So, there is a lot of activity here that's really just kind of, congealing. And we're definitely going to have to watch out for it. All right, if you guys would give me a second here, I'm actually going to take a sip of my water, because I'm kind of thirsty. There we go. Do hurricanes intensify more or less at night? Does it even matter at all if there's no sun? Yeah, it doesn't really matter all too much. It all depends upon what the sea surface temperatures are, my honest opinion. We should create a Nate Snyder fan page. Let's call my Discord server, friends. If you want to join my Discord server, feel free to do so. I'll actually put a link in the chat if you want to do so. Highly recommend it. There's a lot of people in there too. There's over 1,200 people in the Discord server, so it's all the more reason why you should join it. All the more reason why you should join it. A lot of notifications here. This is from Los Angeles, not Louisiana. Is it? Sheesh. Yeah, it does look like a lot of like Los Angeles. Um, may be helpful, FYI, for future uses. Okay, I'll use that. I'll probably save that a little bit later. Thank you so much. All right, so we're probably going to be live for another short bit. As I said, I will be live streaming tomorrow. So we will have the landfall of this tropical system as it happens, with a storm chaser, mind you, as this continues to progress. Let's see if I can get a satellite imagery up now. Is it up to date? Survey says. Yeah, so there's your eye that's starting to pop up. And now, hold up. Let's see if we can go over to Radar Omega now. You might not be able to tell here. Because it's not updated on Radar Omega, unfortunately. Let's see if we can zoom in. And yeah, we can zoom in. Kind of. Yeah, we can't really zoom in all too much. Open image in new tab. Nice. We can zoom in. Look at this. Let's zoom into the eye here. And look at this right here. You can see you have a lot of your strong convection on the western and southern side of the storm, right here. That's where all the dark blacks, grays, whites, all that mean. Very strong thunderstorm activity. But look at this. Now you have a new hot tower that's starting to develop, a new shower and thunderstorm, new deep convection that's really starting to build up. And boom. We can expect this to really kind of ramp up here soon. So a lot of indications are telling me that this is most likely going to form a better eye here soon. It's going to start intensifying a lot more significantly. And look at how small that eye is here as well. Very small eye. Let's see if we can measure it on Radar Omega. See if we can measure it. All right, so here's the eye. And we're going to measure it here in miles. And it's gotten smaller, significantly smaller. When we talked about it before, the eye was about 12 miles wide. Now it's about 5, well, not 5, I should say. About 9 to 10 miles wide. That's significantly smaller. So this is a time period to where it's going to be rapidly intensifying. Big time. Big time rapid intensification. And, you know, of course, 3D. I mean, look at this. I'm not sure about you guys, but that looks insane. Someone asked about the water vapor imagery. Luckily, we can even do the water vapor imagery here on satellite as well. Look at this. Radar Omega. Have another eye. Sure thing. Let's take a look at the water vapor imagery here on 3D. And there is no dry air here near this. There's nothing preventing this from intensifying forward. Nothing preventing this from intensifying more and more. So look at that. This thing is not going to become a Category 5 hurricane, guys, but if it does become a Category 4, it will be very similar to a Category 5 because the damage is going to be about the same. It's still pretty catastrophic. Let's go to upper levels, see if it's anything different. Jeez, that looks so cool. I'm not sure about you guys, but that just looks cool. That looks insane. And we also have this satellite imagery too. I don't really care for this color, honestly. I kind of don't care for the blue. I don't. But regardless, it gets the point across, am I right? I mean, look at that. Very strong thunderstorm activity. I feel like the more you talk about it, the stronger it gets, so keep talking about it. Well, then I'll just end the stream right here, right now. I don't want it to get stronger and stronger. Of course, it's probably going to get stronger even after I end the live stream, but so that can't be helped. But I mean, my goodness, this is. Oh, it's wobbling. Oh, it's wobbling. Did you see the track that it took? Hold up, look at this. It started right there, went over here. Oh, it's wobbling. It's trying to get that eye here. It's trying to get that eye. So it basically arced like this. I think this might be because it restructured its eye. It's trying to restructure its eye somewhere over here. So I think maybe somewhere over here near Grand Isle could be the landfall, honestly. Grand Isle landfall right there. Would not be surprised. One thing I am surprised about, guys, though, is that we have 932 likes. We're so close to 1,000. My goodness, thank you guys so much. Guys are absolutely insane. And we're also almost very close to 14,100 subscribers. That is amazing. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. Without you guys' support, I wouldn't be able to be here. So thank you guys so much. Now, if you know anyone who lives in these areas, all right, or if you live in these areas and you can't get out, all right, first off, you should probably seek some sort of assistance from emergency management. Try and see if there's some sort of emergency shelter that you can go to, okay? So that's the first thing with that too. But the second thing as well would be, I'm going to be live streaming tomorrow. Of course, we'll have all sorts of activity, all sorts of stuff to show you by the time this happens. So if you guys want coverage for this tropical system, I'll be live streaming here. If there's any tornado warnings, any sort of, flash flood warnings, stuff like that, I'll be able to get that information for you all if you're willing to come back. So please be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all the latest information, because I will be live streaming probably sometime in the beginning tomorrow morning, all the way up until landfall and even a little bit past landfall. But yeah, this is a pretty gnarly storm. Let's watch the radar loop. Let's go back in time here, okay? Let's go back in time to when it actually started, or when it started to become a hurricane, I should say, near Cuba. And look at how it's progressed over time. Very disorganized, a lot of showers and thunderstorms now forming. This is when it rapidly intensified, right here. Boom. Eyes started to form. Large eye, so a lot of weakening trends. Going through an eye wall replacement cycle, and now here we go. A lot of reds and a lot of blacks over there compared to what's happening when it was back then. Look at this. Right now, not as much. Now there's a lot. Now it's not as much. And it's kind of going through this up and down trend, and now it's starting to get into the higher end of the trend. Look at this. Right here. Boom. Look at that. You can already see the eye is really small. You got some very strong deep convection here on the southern and even eastern side. Guys, remember how I said that this is going to start translating over to the eastern and northeastern side, and that's how this thing intensifies? Well, here you go. This is exactly what's happening right here. You have all of this deep convection, a lot of these hot towers that are now starting to kind of congeal on the southeastern side. And originally was on the southwestern side. It originally was on the western side before. You guys remember that when the hurricane hunters went through. All right? So this thing is still intensifying. It's not just going to stop. It's not going to just, say, oh, I've had enough. Time for me to just give up. No, it's under the more intense waters of the Gulf of Mexico, and it's going to continue to do so. As a matter of fact, if I were to measure the eye right now, if I were to measure the eye and how wide it is, It's 8 miles wide at maximum. I might have actually messed it up a little bit. Yeah, 8 miles wide at maximum, but I measured 6 miles wide. 6 mile wide eye wall. And you can see there's some more showers and thunderstorms that's developing on the eastern side as well. So this is starting to translate. And that analysis that we were talking about earlier is now starting to come into fruition. Did it just enter the strong waters? It's been over the strong waters for the most part. Look at this. All right, look at this image. This is the upper ocean heat content, which tells you how much unstable energy there is in the ocean, inside the water. Okay? We have a lot of these blues that are just kind of sporadic across the board over here. Not a whole lot of energy. Okay? Areas over here in the yellows and oranges, you have a little bit. You have some energy. It's actually not that bad energy at all. Pretty good energy, actually. Then you have the reds and the whites. And that's when things start to get concerning. If we go back to the actual forecast cone for Ida, real quickly, and pay attention to where it is latitudinal and longitudinal. All right, see this box right here? It stays in between 30 north and 25 north, 90 west and 85 west. Okay? Now let's go back to the thing because I had to update something on the side, so my fault. Now let's go back to the image. 85 west. Let's actually make the pen a different color. 85 west, right here. 95 west. 30 north. 25 north. Here's the box. And look at all of that unstable energy that it's currently going over. Significant amounts of energy practically maxing itself out at the top of the scale. It's going right over that. So that's the thing here, is that as it continues to progress, it's moving over those unstable waters, and it is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. All right, let's see what the latest satellite imagery shows us. Is the eye very small? Yes, the eye is very small. It's rapidly intensifying. Ball game. Ball game. Look at that. So the reason why I say it's rapidly intensifying, as if it wasn't already, is notice what happened here, okay? So you have hot towers on the western side. All right. Let's actually create a GIF here. So create GIF. Number of frames, we're going to turn it to 20. Create a GIF right there. Okay. Boom. Okay, so the reason why I say this is rapidly intensifying right now and how it's taking advantage of that unstable waters is because I want you to pay attention real quickly to this area of the storm and this area of the storm as it continues to progress. You originally have storms that fire off right here and then it spins out. So by the beginning of the frame, you have the storm that's over on the western side that goes all the way to the eastern side. By the beginning of the frame as well, you also have storms that go from the eastern side to the western side. And because we have hot towers that are on the opposite side of the eye that's starting to spin around it, that is a big sign. That is a telltale sign that it is rapidly intensifying from satellite imagery. So right there, we have it right there. It's telling us right then and there, it's rapidly intensifying. That is Yep. There you go. But yeah, this is a rapidly intensifying storm, and it looks like it reorganized. The eye actually reorganized. So originally right here was the eye. And it looks like it's trying to reorganize itself again with a little bit more dry air to the side of it. So it's trying to completely structure its eye wall right there. And you can clearly see how it's got some very strong deep convection surrounding it. So this is a classic. This is a classic situation of rapid intensification. You can see at the top left-hand part of your screen, here's the outline of Louisiana. And it's moving northwest into this general vicinity. Probably somewhere near Grand Isle, Louisiana. But sheesh, that is some big-time stuff right there. Big-time stuff. And there it is. We got it on Radar Omega there. The same image that we saw. Let's see if we can measure the eye now. How wide is the eye? Yeah, it's about 6 to 7 miles wide, maximum 8. They seeded it and ran. It wouldn't matter if they seeded it anyways, because there's already too many showers and thunderstorms. So even if they seeded it, which they didn't, they put down thermometers and anemometers and hygrometers. They put all that into the storm to try and figure out how strong it is. If they seeded it, it wouldn't make a difference because it's already strong. If they seeded it, it wouldn't really help. It would be about the same. Let's take a look over at the Doverick technique again. See how strong the satellites take it now. Oh. Okay. Well, there you go. Latest analysis from satellite. 102 knots. 956 millibars. There you go. Do you think this can go more west towards Morgan City? You can definitely have the center of low pressure move over there, but it'd probably be a little weaker by then, but still be pretty significant. Look at that. And then for people who are curious as to what 102 knots is in miles per hour, 102 knots is 117 miles per hour. 117 right there. That is a Category 3 hurricane. If the satellite is correct. So Category 3 hurricane. Most likely possible with this storm as of right now. So it did rapidly intensify. And it is ongoing. It is ongoing with its rapid intensification. Ongoing right now. Let's see. Is there any other missions that are heading off to this? Because if that's the only mission, then that's upsetting. It looks like it as of right now. So the Hurricane Hunters have kind of just went goodbye. Missions for today. 29th 0Z. So the 0Z. Interesting. So hypothetically, they should be... They could be in the storm here soon. No, actually, I think they're done for the evening. I think they're done for the evening. The next flight that they will have is tomorrow morning. And they are anticipating to be in the storm. Make 3 passes here. Or multiple passes in that storm. Early in the morning. Early in the morning. Past midnight. That's what I read there. NOAA P3 will fly an 8-hour research mission into Ida, departing at KLAL at 29:08. Oh, so at 4 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow morning, they're going to send an 8-hour research mission into Ida. 8 hours. 8 hours consistently, they're sending a hurricane hunter. Hypothetically, could we dump a bunch of ice into the Gulf to weaken the hurricane prior to it making landfall? I mean, not right now, but maybe, possibly. It'd probably be easier if you dumped a lot of dry air, if you had like a lot of fine dust or sand. Like if you had, you know, Saharan desert sand and you dumped it over there, you had like multiple planes, a lot of planes, I should say. Probably could weaken it. Is it turning westward? It's continuing with its westward trajectory, but it's not moving due west. My goodness. Let's take a look at the lower level water. Actually, mid-level water vapor should be okay. Water vapor over there should be fine. Got some dry air there still, but yeah, this thing is definitely rapidly intensifying. Oh crap, we need to make it 30 frames. There we go. Now, do you see a possibility of being a Cat 5 or still no? Nope, I still don't see it. I knew it was going to still rapidly intensify. It's right around now when it was when it's going to. But yeah, it's definitely rapidly intensifying now. There you go. So yeah, most likely we'll be ending the live stream here soon, guys. Let's start answering questions. Let's start answering questions here. First things first, we're actually 21 subscribers away from 14,100. So if you haven't subscribed already, please be sure to do so. As I said, we will be live streaming tomorrow. We will have a storm chaser. We will have live probes that will show you what all is happening live at the surface. We'll even show you one probe while we talk. There you go. There's one probe. We'll show you another one. There's another probe. There you go. All right. So we got all sorts of cameras. We got all sorts of probes. We got all sorts of activity. We even have our own storm chaser, which will be talking to us and showing us his perspective all throughout the live stream. So if you would like to stay tuned to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and then hit that bell button right next to it. Turn on notifications to stay up to date with whenever I live stream, because you do not want to miss any sort of information, especially since we'll even have the hurricane hunters doing an 8-hour reconnaissance mission during that time. So a lot of stuff that we'll be talking about tomorrow, a lot of stuff that we will be showing you all tomorrow. And we're also 3 likes away from getting to 1,000 likes. So if you guys would help me there, That'd be greatly appreciated as well. Thank you guys so much. Any chance it wobbles north and hits South Mississippi? I doubt it hits Mississippi, honestly. But I definitely think it's wobbling a little bit further eastward. I definitely think it's moving a little bit further eastward. I think it's probably going to hit Grand Isle, Louisiana. Which Grand Isle, Louisiana would be right about here. And then Thibodaux's right here. New Orleans, of course, I should say, is right there. What is its main path? Where will it make landfall? As I said, probably somewhere near Grand Isle. Who is your favorite hurricane expert at the Weather Channel? I mean, at this point, there's one. I can't remember what's. Yeah, is it Dr. Rick Nab? Rick Nab. That's Kick, not Rick. I can't spell. Yeah, Dr. Rick Nab. He's the best. I like him. I like him a lot, especially since he used to be a senior hurricane expert at the National Hurricane Center. So there you go. I saw something that said that it's moving fast and it might actually not get to 4, maybe a strong 3 is that too. It definitely has the potential to be a strong 3, in which then, think of it this way. I had my prediction that was about 5 days ago that I said that this would hit somewhere in between Grand Isle and Lafayette. And I said it would be a 125 mile per hour category 3. If it hits at that, then my predictions from 5 days out is absolutely insane. If that's the case, I'm not sure if it's luck or not. But that would be an amazing forecast if that was correct. When is landfall? Landfall is sometime around 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So if you're willing to come out around landfall, feel free to do so. I will start the live stream sometime tomorrow morning. All right, it'll be probably about 7 in the morning. Right around 7 in the morning. Maybe a little bit earlier than that. Probably about 6 in the morning-ish, maybe. Might have it around 6 in the morning. Sometime around 6 or 7 in the morning. And then we will be live streaming all the way up to it. Up until the thing happens. Where's your storm chaser? He most likely will be in Thibodaux, Louisiana. Which will be just north of Houma. Thibodaux's not going to be impacted as much by the storm surge. So he's hoping he can look at some stuff over there. Let us see. Could Texas get some of the system? Probably not. Probably not. You could get some outer bands, but not anything significant. Am I still thinking Category 4 at landfall? And what are the impacts that I'm thinking personally? I think the National Hurricane Center has hit it spot on in regards to their impacts. I think they've hit it spot on with the amount of storm surge, the amount of flooding. Potentially 11 to 15 feet of storm surge. Now let's see if we can pull that up here. Here's the peak storm surge. And yeah, 10 to 15 feet of storm surge anticipated from Morgan City all the way over to the mouth of the Mississippi. That's at maximum. It can be less in some other areas. And even 7 to 11 from the mouth of the Mississippi to places like Biloxi and Gulfport. And then you also have the significant rain on top of it. Look at this. Look at how much rain is here. You have the pinks indicating 15 to 20 inches of total rainfall. Reds indicating 10 to 15. Orange is 6 to 10. And then look at how widespread the yellows are, even up into places like Mississippi and Tennessee. Yellows is 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. So that's a lot of rain that is anticipated within these areas. A lot of rain. What about River Valley, Arkansas? You have family that lives there. I definitely could see them getting some rain, maybe an elevated flood risk from just basically the runoff. So if you guys are in a higher elevation, you guys should be fine, in my honest opinion. Let's see. Yeah, around 20, almost 20 inches of rainfall in New Orleans. That's crazy. There was a tornado in South Dakota earlier. Almost went PDS, had good rotation. I saw that earlier. What wind speeds can we expect near Pascagoula, Mississippi? We are not flood prone. But what about the wind speeds? Well, that is a good question here. And to answer that, we're actually going to go ahead and take a look over here at the HWRF model. We'll backtrack here a little bit, show you the winds as it continues to progress. And we're going to show you the maximum wind speeds here from the system. Timings, for any of you who are curious, is up here. It's in Eastern Daylight Time, so you'd have to subtract 1 hour from this. And then if you want the maximum wind speed, it's at the bottom right-hand corner, which at this frame, it says 131 miles per hour. So, gnarly. But as this continues to progress further and further, it intensifies more and more to probably, and according to this model, it may be a little bit stronger. This model may be than the actual intensity, but this model predicts rapid intensification very well, very well. So, it could potentially be a 145 mile per hour category 4 hurricane, but on its approach to the coastline, we could have some sustained winds here along the coastline in upwards of about 40 to maybe even 50 miles per hour. And gusts could be higher than that. Let's take a look at the wind gusts, which is just basically 925 millibar winds. So the wind gusts could potentially be in some areas over here. If we look down, take a look at the monitor here from the color codes. We have some whites over there that indicates about 70 to maybe 74 mile per hour wind gusts. That's about hurricane force. Hurricane force wind gusts in that general area as well. So there's a lot of activity that is expected with this storm, even as it continues to progress. And the chances for some very strong hurricane force wind gusts within this area is definitely possible. Let's actually take a look at the Euro model and see. We're going to take a look at the regions. We're going to take a look at the deep south. We're going to take a look at the surface winds, and we're going to actually take a look at the maximum wind gust swath. So the maximum wind gusts within this area here, okay? And the maximum wind gusts within some of this, within some of these areas here, especially over Baton Rouge. Look at this. 100 mile per hour wind gusts is possible. Even look, Grand Isle, according to the Euro model, 147 mile per hour maximum wind gust. That is insane. Very significant within that area. So definitely something to watch out for as this continues to propagate further towards Louisiana. But my goodness, that is a lot. That is very high. And of course, I'll just even go back to show you the wind gusts here within this general area as well. We'll go back. And there you go. Wind gusts near the Mississippi coastline. 50 to 60, maybe even 70 miles per hour. Easily could see that. What about St. Charles Parish, Louisiana? You're here right now. Give me a second. Let me pull that up. So St. Charles Parish. And that's right next to New Orleans. So yeah, you guys are most likely going to get impacted a lot. I'll be live streaming tomorrow. So if you want to stay tuned to all the latest information, whether there's tornado warnings, if the levee breaks and you need to seek shelter of some sort, I'll be here. All right. I'll be live streaming tomorrow. But according to the models here, for the most part, you guys are going to be seeing some hurricane force wind gusts in upwards of 90 to maybe even 100 miles per hour within your area. And we'll just even do the wind gust swath. We'll do that. And in New Orleans itself, hurricane force wind gusts. But the further west you go, the higher the actual wind gust reading will actually come out to be. So just keep in mind with that as this gets closer and closer to your general vicinity, because this is most likely going to be a very strong storm. Easily. The thing of it is that some people couldn't evacuate, and then of course some other people may actually say, some people might actually stay just to stay, but cool to see someone your age doing this on Twitch. Well, thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate it. I'm doing it on both Twitch and YouTube. So, of course, earlier on YouTube, I actually had about, what, 1,200 people watching me at one time, just for this live stream alone. And tomorrow it's probably going to be more, of course. But right now we got about 500 people on YouTube watching me right now. So I'm just basically trying to get the information out as much as possible. We are 10 subscribers away from 14,100, guys. We're so close. Thank you guys so much for helping me out as much as you guys have. And thank you guys so much for getting me over 1,000 likes. I really do appreciate that. Let's take a look at the maximum amount of precipitation from the system. We'll go to 72 hours. There we go. Euro model. That's a lot of rain. That is a lot of rain within a small area. A lot of rain within a small area. Look at this. 16 inches of rain expected within one specific spot. Could be even heavier. But according to the Euro model, my goodness, that's a lot. Multiple tornado touchdowns in Iowa yesterday. I saw that. I wasn't on YouTube though, so of course couldn't do it. Jeez, look at that rainfall, chat. Look at that rainfall. That is... Head off to bed. I was reading on your Discord. People are saying it's already at 955 millibars. Let's take a look at the latest Doverick technique. And before they were saying at 956, because there's 0.8 right there. It says 955 right there, but if you round it up, you know, closer, you can round up or even round down. That's about the same. So yeah, this is a 956 millibar storm according to satellite, 102 knots, which would make it a 115 mile per hour category 3 hurricane. So it's already a major hurricane if that's the case. And it's been pretty significant for quite some time. Alrighty. Final questions for the chat before I get out of your hair. As I said, tomorrow I will be live streaming. So if you're willing to come back, you're willing to watch with us live the system as it makes landfall with our storm chaser, because we have our storm chaser on the ground as well. What time am I going to start? Probably sometime around 7 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'm thinking 7 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Could this strengthen to a Category 5? I doubt it, honestly. We are overdue for another grill on fire. Thanks for another stream. Catch you tomorrow. Yeah, that's at least the girl was the grill wasn't on fire here. At least the grill wasn't on fire. For those of you who didn't get that reference, it was from our severe weather coverage that we had back in, I believe it was April. Back in April, where there was this huge tornado outbreak over in Mississippi. And so, yeah, speaking of which, we even cover both severe weather as well, too. So if there wasn't a tropical system that was hitting the U.S. today, we would be covering that stuff over in Minnesota for you all. But the thing of it is that as of right now, that's not the case. Or at least the grill wasn't on fire. What about Central Time? That's 6 Central. 6 Central. So that's when it's going to start. And landfall is going to be sometime around 1 Central. So if you want to come in around the landfall, then feel free to do so. But that's when I'm going to start the live stream. And if you guys want to watch the cameras here with me, kind of react as to what the damage is going to be like, feel free to do so. Alrighty. That's gonna be it here for me, guys. I appreciate everyone who came out to the live stream here. As I said, we're only 7 subscribers away from 14,100. I'm sure we're going to cross over that tomorrow. But I appreciate everyone who has helped expand my channel here today. I greatly appreciate it. So thank you guys so much for coming in to the channel. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. I pray for the people here in Louisiana and Mississippi that they don't get impacted as significantly as they do. But they most likely will. So, as I said, subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all the latest information, even after this hurricane, because we are not even at the peak of hurricane season yet. We're still expected to get more and more tropical cyclones. So if you guys want to stay up to date with all of that, best analysis that I can possibly give you, stick around for this channel. You will not want to miss a single thing. And if you know anyone else who also wants to see coverage like this, go ahead and share this with them too. That's going to be it for me. My name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy Nate. And I will catch you guys tomorrow morning. Be there, be square, stay safe. Thanks for watching.